Hey everyone, if you enjoy these recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's get started.
20 long years have already passed since our boy left Earth and got dropped into another world, and today is finally the day he ends the monster and saves this cursed land. Hero Lee Hun-suk stands at the edge of a burning battlefield and grips his spear tight as pitch-black flames race down the shaft toward the beast pinned on the tip. The monster is a nightmare with a lion face, a red glowing crown on its head, tiger legs and dragon wings so huge they cover the sky. It rasps out that the hero truly endured everything and that he is fitting of the title. Then the beast points out that his so-called companions are barely hanging on themselves. 3 figures wait in the smoke behind him, the saintess with her golden hair, the robed mage, and the knight in dark armor. Hyun-suk answers dryly that the monster does not look so hot either. That comment lights a spark of fury in the beast and it roars about the sheer insolence before it lunges. The two of them trade a punishing exchange. Our boy grunts as a claw rakes across his chest. The monster snarls that if the hero will not submit, it will tear him to pieces. This land, it declares, is a kingdom forged by its own teeth and claws. Hyun-suk just raises his spear. He tells it flatly that it is time to end this. And so the paradox flame ignites in full. The young man drives forward through the storm of claws and his black fire spear tears clean through the beast's guard. The monster's huge body buckles under the impact. It manages one desperate swipe in return, and the hero staggers as a fresh gash tears across his ribs. The beast sneers that an attack that soft will not leave even a scratch. Hyun-suk lifts his blade and answers coolly that soft or not, it is more than enough to cut down that arrogance. The next strike splits the monster open and drives it down to one knee. Blood pours from its jaws as it stares at him in disbelief. To think there is a human in this world who can stand against it. Hyun-suk tells it plainly, once more, that he is not from this world. The beast laughs weakly and mutters that our boy is spouting nonsense right until the very end. It boasts that even if it falls here, its body will be absorbed into the land and rise again one day. But the wounds are not closing. Panic flickers in its red eyes as it realizes it cannot regenerate. It whispers half in awe that it is being erased. Hyun-suk explains without pity. This black flame burning through the beast is his special ability. He has named it the paradox flame. Unlike normal fire that burns oxygen, this one uses abstract concepts as fuel. The monster's endless resurrections across the centuries are finished because what is burning right now is its very existence. The beast quietly asks if its time here is truly at an end. Then it offers one last cruel gift. Even if it is erased from this place, it warns, the hero will never be remembered as the one who saved the world, because those people the guy calls his companions are, at this very moment, just waiting for him to die here. Hyun-suk answers, without a trace of surprise, that he already knows. The monster's eyes widen in shock and it demands to know how he knew. Just then the saintess bursts forward. She cries that the hero must not believe the words of a monster. Hyun-suk ignores her plea and lays it all out. He starts with the saintess herself. This is the woman who claims to love him and throws herself at him every day, when in truth she despises him for being an outsider. Every seduction attempt is part of a plan and it is all engineered so he would hesitate to strike her down when the purge finally comes. Hyun-suk turns to her and asks if he is wrong. She goes pale as chalk. The other two are the same. The knight received a national treasure sword from the cowardly emperor for the sole purpose of eliminating the hero after the monster fell, because that petty man feared for his throne. The knight demands to know how he could possibly have known, and the mage who adores human experimentation hates him for one simple reason. He opposes the slavery system that keeps her supply of test subjects flowing. In short, our boy tells the dying beast, the fact that they would kill him after its death is something he has known for the past 5 years. The monster cannot understand it. With the power the hero uses to corner it, he could have easily destroyed this world that turned its blades against him. Hyun-suk answers softly that he did not do that because he just wants to go home. Now the story goes back 20 years. In 2005 on Earth, he was just an ordinary 30-year-old office worker. Then a being calling herself a goddess pulls him into another world and asks the chosen hero to save it from the monsters. He knows the stories well enough. There are plenty of tales about ordinary people succeeding in another world, but the world he arrives in is a disaster in and of itself. He tries every method imaginable to return to Earth, and every path leads to the same single answer, which is to defeat the monsters and save the world. So for 20 long years he trains and he fights. He rescues a child from a village once and begs the healers to let him in. They just sneer at him for wasting medicine on a body that is obviously about to die. This alternate world, which chooses to abandon the wounded rather than rescue them, is unbelievably cruel. Their level of medicine and hygiene is medieval. They will amputate a limb for a simple infection because all the healers are mobilized for battle. And worse still, when he brings back a child he rescues from the monsters, the priests calmly announce that the child survived because a demon has taken root within it, and they will exorcise the demon themselves. They tell the hero that if he wishes for salvation he must cast aside such useless pity. These disgusting otherworlders have no concept of human rights. And so, after enduring 20 years in that agonizing otherworld, our boy finally defeats the monster and saves the world. Standing over the corpse, Hyunsuk tells his so-called companions that he really hates this world. The knight lifts his blade and admits he is actually relieved the truth is out. They cannot let the hero live, but the damage Hyunsuk took in that final battle should have killed him on the spot. And now the three of them quickly realize they are in serious trouble. Even attacking is out of the question. He can barely move and he still radiates lethal danger. They created a monster just to catch another monster. Hyunsuk tips his head back and roars to the sky that he has completed the mission he was given. He demands the goddess keep her promise. The heavens tear open and the golden goddess descends in a wash of white light. She praises his arduous efforts and tells him he has done well. Our boy cuts through the flattery and asks if she remembers the deal. Once the monster fell, all his experiences, memories, and even his soul would be perfectly preserved, and she would send him back to Earth. The goddess asks if he truly does not like this world, even after gaining enough power to threaten her. She reminds him that returning means every achievement of hero Lee Hyunsuk will be void. Hyunsuk tells her to drop the act. She is just relieved he is leaving as promised. This world no longer has any need for a monster like him. She asks one last time if he will truly not regret this. Our boy answers that there is only one thing he desires, and that is to return to the world he once knew. She accepts with a quiet farewell, and this god-forsaken otherworld is finally behind him. The goddess explains that because his physical body on Earth has already perished, she must place his soul into a new vessel. Hyunsuk asks whose body he is going into. She cannot explain in detail, but she tells him it is a body fated for a wretched end. Even so, she is certain he will survive. The guy tells her he does not care what fate that body carries. No matter how difficult and harsh a fate he may face, it will surely be better than what he experienced here. Light swallows him whole. When his eyes open, he is lying in a small studio apartment on Earth in the year 2025. Hero Lee Hyunsuk has entered the body of a civilian named Yu Hyunsuk. He mutters that those rotten otherworld bastards are finally out of his sight, and it is nice that he never has to see those traitors again. Then he catches his reflection in the mirror and stares at the unfamiliar face for a long moment. He tells it that from now on, this face is him. He really is back on Earth. Our boy drinks water straight from the tap and marvels that this is real magic. Clean, uncontaminated water, and to hell with all those mages. He turns on the gas stove and nearly weeps at fire summoned by a single button. He does not have to chop wood or set up campfires ever again. Then he spots a container of leftover chicken sitting on the desk. He shoves a piece into his mouth and his eyes fill with tears from the sheer bliss of it. He cannot remember why he ever hated dry chicken breast before. This is what real food tastes like. He missed this so much, all of it. He can finally live a normal life. Then he checks the phone and freezes. It is already 2025, which means the other world's time flowed exactly the same as Earth's. But it does not matter to our boy. No matter how difficult and hard it is to adjust to the Earth of now, it could never be more horrifying than the other world he just crawled out of. Hot water pours down from the shower head without our boy ever having to wait. Cool air rushes out of the wall unit with a single button press. Even the sky outside the window is clear and bright, nothing like the ash-choked hellhole he crawled out of. Wrapped in a towel, Hyunsuk stares out at the skyline of 2025 and mutters that this is it. This place is nothing like that nasty other world. All that matters now is figuring out what to do first. Maybe he will start with StarCraft. Before that daydream can finish, something crashes through his apartment and he yells in shock. A pale creature with a wide grinning maw lunges out of the wall behind him. Our boy scrambles into a corner, sweating and pale, and demands to know what the hell this is. Then the building speakers crackle to life. A calm voice announces that a corrosion rift has appeared inside the apartment complex, and all residents must evacuate to the underground shelter immediately. He crouches low against the wall and asks what a corrosion rift even is. The announcement keeps repeating, and Hyunsuk has no idea what in the world is going on. Our boy bolts down the hallway, past screaming residents and past monsters skittering out of a bleeding red haze. He asks himself what the hell is happening on Earth as he ducks around a corner. After a long sprint up the stairwell, he leans against the wall panting and figures he finally lost them. That is when he spots a small figure huddled on the landing above him. It is a young kid. Insuk recognizes him first and warns him it is dangerous here, and Mr. needs to hurry to the shelter. Then the kid asks if Mr. saw where the monster went. The kid answers flatly that he is going to go kill it, and asks if the boy wants to come. Hyunsuk blinks up at him in confusion, unsure he heard right. Hyunsuk has already been catching bits and pieces from the crowd panic and the announcements. Apparently Earth has been like this for 13 years now. He curses under his breath. The boy insists he refuses to head down to the shelter, and there is no way our boy can just leave him alone up here. And so just like that he ends up tagging along with this little brat. As they move together, the kid explains what corrosion rifts are. They are basically an exit that monsters come out of, and nobody knows why they form or when and where they will appear. Hyunsuk nods. Yeah, that is right. He tips his head back and groans that he went through that living hell just to come back to Earth, only to find out that this place has become a hellhole too. Isn't this too much, damned goddess? The boy squints at him, puzzled by how he doesn't know any of this. The guy stammers out a lie about living in America for a while. The kid immediately corrects him that the US president got impeached for trying to secretly send his daughter to Korea, and he cannot even come to Korea now. Our boy has absolutely no idea what this kid is talking about, so he changes the subject fast. He asks about that hunter the boy was mentioning earlier. What was her name again? The kid's face lights up. Lee Se-eun. She is in the Janabi Guild and she is ranked 10th on Earth, and her main weapon is a cool greatsword. Right now she is in Chirwon, dealing with a corrosion rift. The young man sighs in relief at how naturally he pivoted the conversation. Then a slower thought hits him. A normal human is out there fighting monsters, just like in the world he came from. It is amazing that such a thing is even possible. The boy is still gushing about Lee Se-eun's greatsword and pulls out a phone to show him some must-see YouTube video, when Hyunsuk claps a hand over his mouth. There are monsters nearby, and there are a lot of them. Exactly 5 of them, he counts silently, and with the one hiding, 6 in total. Thankfully this body seems to have above-average strength, and he is used to fighting multiple enemies. That shouldn't be a problem, but he still has this kid to worry about. Our boy chews the situation over. If he leaves the boy alone, something bad will definitely happen to him, and without a proper weapon, what is he supposed to do here anyway? Then he catches something drifting in the air. It is a shimmer, a familiar current he last felt across the void. He is sure of it. This is the same mana he saw in that world. In that case he has options. Blue paradox flame ignites along his open palm as a monster lunges. It shrieks and dies mid-air. The mana the hero built up over 20 years is gone with his old body, but as long as this air holds mana, the paradox flame remains. That ability is engraved on his very soul. The firepower is a little disappointing compared to before, but this should be more than enough. He unleashes another burst, and dark flame swallows the beast whole. The boy stares up at him in awe and gasps that Mr. was amazing. To be honest, the kid admits he was a little skeptical since Hyunsuk did not know anything, but to think Mr. has a unique skill. The guy laughs weakly and mumbles that he is just glad the kid is not hurt, so they call it a unique skill here. The boy then remembers something urgent. On the official Hunter Academy YouTube channel, they said confirming the kill is important. Our boy starts to add something else and stops mid-word. The residue of the paradox flame is moving on its own behind them. Our boy snaps out that you don't go out until the target is dead. A second monster bursts from the smoke, and the young man tells the kid flatly that he does not know what YouTube is, but the boy should probably stop watching it. Then he asks to borrow the staff the kid is clutching. The boy hands it over, and the hero takes his stance. Here it comes. He slides forward, and the borrowed staff whips through the air, cracking bone and tearing the monster apart in a single sweep. When the dust settles, the boy is bouncing beside him and asking if Mr. is secretly a hunter. The young man exhales, filthy and irritated, to think he would have to smell the stench of blood even after coming to Earth. He went through all that hell hoping to rest easy, but if this is what Earth is like now, then it is no different from that world. Survivors gather at the edge of the corridor and watch him from a distance as he starts walking the kid down. The boy chatters that grade schoolers these days are called little brats instead, and our boy grumbles that this is a very mean way to call elementary schoolers. A woman in expensive clothes rushes forward and yanks the boy into her arms and cries out his name, Yoon-sung. She thanks the hero over and over for bringing him back and apologizes that Yoon-sung can be so reckless. The guy's eyes flick over her designer coat and luxury earrings and he mentally files it away. So this kid was a rich young master. That explains it. Then the shelter shudders. A monstrous jaw crashes clean through the outer wall in a spray of concrete. Screams rip through the crowd as the outer shelter collapses. Everyone starts running. Yoon-sung tugs at his sleeve and cries that Mr. This time they really have to run. Something inside our boy goes still and quiet. He was not asking for much. All he wanted was to return to the world he once knew, to his home he missed so dearly. His hand trembles and then clenches shut. Did he really ask for too much? He looks down at the boy and calls him a brat. Yoon-sung immediately snaps that he told Mr. not to call him that. The hero asks him plainly, "You are rich, aren't you? Why are you still trying to become a hunter? Can't you just hide out somewhere safe and live comfortably? You don't have to fight." Yoon-sung's face goes serious. He lost his dad to a monster. A corrosion rift opened up in the underground bunker they thought was safe, and that is when he realized there is no safe place on Earth. Even though he isn't strong yet and monsters are still scary, he is going to become the strongest hunter. He will get rid of every corrosion rift and save the world. It might come across as a stupid dream to Mr., but he really means it. The young man cuts him off gently. "No, Yoon-sung will become a great hunter. It is just," our boy adds, "that Yoon-sung will not be able to save the world." Yoon-sung's mother is already trying to pull him away and tells him that is enough. They need to go now. The boy resists and calls out that Mr. is still hurt and shouldn't go alone. The guy has already turned and started walking back the way the monsters came. Yoon-sung cries after him. Our boy glances back over his shoulder with a small crooked grin, because he is going to do it. Saving the world is a job for someone who has done it before. The morning after the shelter fight, our boy sums up his own situation in one clean line. He was summoned to another world, had to fight monsters for 20 years, and then made his way back to Earth. He got no time to enjoy his freedom before a corrosion rift confronted him. Fortunately, he survived by drawing on his past life's experience, and he promised the kid he would save the world. But he did nothing. He is currently sprawled in a gaming chair, hammering keys and downing a cold drink, watching the victory screen flash. That was way too easy. Someone who has saved the world once can save it again, and that is not a big deal at all. He tosses out the phrase with such confidence in front of everyone, but the desire to save the world does not last very long. There are games. There is abundant food he could only dream of in the other world. There is a system where he can do anything with just one touch of a phone. Besides, when it comes to saving the world, there are already hunters for that. Maybe he will order some delivery. Then he taps his banking app and his brain grinds to a full stop. Remaining balance, 3,201. He nearly chokes and yelps that he already spent all his severance pay. The original owner of this body, Yoo Chen-suk, was an employee at a logistics company, but he lost his job when the company went bankrupt due to a corrosion rift one day. Now that Chen-suk's severance pay has run out, Hyun-suk has already tried to find a new job, but there is no way he can get a normal one. Because of the constantly appearing corrosion rifts, most companies are going out of business, so he guesses it is to be expected. A guy needs a job to survive in modern society, so what is he supposed to do? Nowhere is hiring new people. Then a notification lights up his phone with a hunter recruitment ad. Hyun-suk stares at it a long moment. Well, he does have experience in this line of work. The Hunter Association Tower rises tall in downtown Seoul. Our boy walks in behind a rookie candidate practically vibrating with excitement about becoming a hunter, and rolls his eyes at how worked up the guy is over what is basically a formality. The selection has become just that, honestly. These days you can get picked just by showing off a unique skill. He scans the sea of candidates and clicks his tongue. They are all the same, just a bunch of small fries. A murmur ripples through the crowd. "Aren't we going to get too famous?" someone hisses. Then heads snap around as a tall dark-haired woman walks in with a smoking pipe in one hand, and the room detonates with recognition. It is Lee Se-eun, the Lee Se-eun of the Janabi Guild, World Hunter ranking 10th, partner hunter of her guild. She was supposed to be in Churwon subjugating a corrosion rift, and nobody thought they would get to see her in person. Word passes fast that the Janabi Guild sent someone this important to scout a candidate, and every hall gossip is trying to guess who. The answer is on a tablet, an aide is showing her. The candidate is a girl named Han Sung-ah, a Hunter Academy graduate, whose awakened ability is electrokinesis. Se-eun snorts that she could probably charge batteries. The aide dryly answers that she is a hunter candidate, not a power generator. They say her ability handling is quite sharp, so she will surely be useful. Lee Se-eun exhales pipe smoke and drawls maybe, maybe not. A hunter behind them booms out that hunting inside corrosion rifts is real combat. Lee Se-eun flinches at the volume and dryly tells him he startled her. He explains that even the Academy stars often fail to deliver in actual combat. Lee Se-eun agrees and tosses a piece of praise candy his way. Practice and real combat are completely different worlds, and Academy students who have only had safe training find it hard to endure the real thing. It will take Han Sung-ah a long time to adapt. Her team leader must know that too, but Lee Se-eun is not sure it is really okay for her to be away for a whole week. A voice over the speakers thanks the hunters for their patience and announces that the first match is about to begin. Lee Seun mutters that one way or the other she guesses she has to do the job she has been given. To every candidate down in the ring she thinks the same thing. Raise your value enough to make her want to take you. Down in a side booth, a spiky-haired commentator wearing sunglasses leans forward with interest. This candidate is quite interesting. He is a civilian who is not even from the Hunter Academy. That is something they have never seen before. Down in the arena, Hyunsuk steps out under the lights in a blue candidate uniform as the announcer roars out his name as candidate Yu Chen-suk. Our boy scratches the back of his head and admits internally that he is still not used to the new name. The announcer walks through the rules. Personal weapons other than those provided by the association are not allowed, and inflicting life-threatening injuries is prohibited. The young man settles into his stance. Since he has decided to become a hunter, the first thing he needs to do is save this world destined to fall. At the same time, he needs to live well and eat well. A yellow spiky-haired candidate across the ring is already smirking wide with teeth showing and mutters that this newbie without an academy record is unbelievable. Hyunsuk tightens his grip. To eat well and live well, he needs good results in this tournament. The referee calls both candidates to their positions and shouts fight. The spearman drags a hand down his shaft and flames bloom along its length. He laughs that his opponent cannot even gather mana. Consider it an honor to lose to him. He charges, flame spear leveled, and boasts that he is the undefeated spearmaster of the Hunter Academy. The guy simply slides one step aside as the thrust hisses past his ear, then reappears behind him before the man's momentum can even reset. The spearman spins around wide-eyed and croaks that the newbie vanished. Hyunsuk tells him plainly that he is pretty clumsy with that spear. Then his bare fist crashes into his jaw and rocks his head back on impact. The spearman staggers, spitting blood, and gasps out that this cannot be happening already. Hyunsuk explains that he used his bare hands because he was worried he would hurt him too badly with a spear. The crowd goes quiet. Watching from the stands, a hunter mutters that this guy fights at a beginner level, and it is actually shocking. This cannot be the average level for hunters. Lee Seun's eyes narrow above her pipe. What is with that guy? Her aide leans in and rattles off the file. Previous job was working at a logistics company. He has almost no mana accumulated in his body. To generate that much power, he would need years of accumulation. And if that is not the case, then this result must simply be luck. Lee Seun flicks a piece of yut at him without looking. The aide catches it and shuts up immediately. Candy is for praise and yot is for scolding. That guy is intentionally not accumulating mana, she thinks to herself. Except how is that even possible? Down in the arena, Hyunsuk exhales that this is a bit uncomfortable, but to prove his abilities he should probably finish this decisively. He surges forward before the spearman can raise his weapon, and drives a chain strike into his body. Our boy murmurs almost gently not to worry, and it will not be a fatal wound. The next blow snaps the spearman's head back and puts him flat on the mat. The referee shouts the winner is candidate Yu Chen-suk, and the audience erupts. Up in the box, Lee Seun rises to her feet. While the others are busy evaluating him, she needs to make her move. She wants to see his real skills. Her aide asks where she is going and she answers plainly. She needs to go see the association president. Match after match blurs by. Our boy is disappointed. These rookies are just too weak. Even for rookies who just became hunters, aren't they just too weak? No matter how many matches he fights, the guys coming out are all about the same level. What on earth do they teach at this Hunter Academy? He rolls his shoulders and grumbles under his breath that there isn't a single decent one. At last, a silver-haired young woman steps into the ring. Somewhere in the audience, a candidate breathes that she is pretty. Finally, someone he will get to see fight. The announcer roars that for the grand finale, it is candidate Hyunsuk. Will she finally stop the march of this mysterious super rookie? Hyunsuk looks her up and down and admits that at least she is the one who has gathered the most mana out of everyone he has seen today. Hyunsuk answers cold and flat that even so, he has nothing. He may have gotten this far by luck, but there will be no more flukes. The young man cannot help but smirk and asks if that generic line is also something they teach at the Hunter Academy. Seeing as he is just throwing punches, she tells him he must not have a unique skill, but that doesn't mean she will go easy on him. Hyunsuk, with the faintest phantom of the paradox flame flickering behind his eyes, mumbles a quiet thanks. A unique skill, well, he does have one, but he is not using it because he thinks she will get hurt if he does. The referee calls them ready, then shouts fight. Lightning crackles down Hyunsuk's blade as she launches into an Aido draw. The whole air splits open in a thunderbolt slash and Hyunsuk simply leaps clean into the air above it. The stroke passes harmlessly beneath his feet. The hall gasps as one. Hyunsuk's eyes widen. He dodged it. The commentator sputters that this newbie dodged lightning by jumping. Hyunsuk bites the inside of her cheek and silently notes that this guy is genuinely interesting. Hyunsuk lands lightly and hums to himself. By running current through her scabbard and blade, she magnetized them, then added that magnetic force to the raw power of drawing the sword, turning her Aido into a railgun. It is genuinely clever. He tells her plainly that her skills are definitely the best so far, but she missed the most important thing. Han Sung-a snaps back and asks what. He explains that she needed to think about when to attack, not just how fast. She was too focused on attacking quickly. To accelerate the drawn sword even faster, she laid down a magnetic rail in the empty air. No matter how fast and powerful the strike, what kind of idiot would take an attack with a path visible in plain sight? Han Sung-a's face flushes and she snarls at him not to get cocky. She swears she can beat the likes of him even without that technique, and she comes in swinging. Hyunsuk watches her rush and asks flatly if she is an idiot. He dodged her fastest attack. There is no way he is getting hit by this. Her slashes come in fast and clean, evidence of long steady training. Our boy slips through them, deflecting, stealing her tempo, breaking her balance so that every fierce cut carves nothing but empty air. Inside he notes that she is overdoing it. She is forcing herself to scrape together mana that is not there. If she keeps this up, her body is going to get wrecked. It is time to end it. He tells her aloud, that was cool, but let's stop here. Han Sang-a's face twists in confusion. Our boy steps into her guard and adds, almost gently, that if it hurts, she should raise her left hand. His raised palm slaps the flat of her downward swing. The sword flies upward and her gut opens wide. Hyunsuk's fist rockets into her stomach, and the impact folds her clean in half. She crashes down onto the platform, eyes gone white and blank. Silence roars through the arena. Somewhere behind the barricade a candidate whispers that this cannot be real, because he overwhelmed Han Sang-a, the top student of the academy. Where did a guy like that come from? Hyunsuk stands over her and figures that she was certainly more skilled than the others, but to fall from that she must have relied on mana and neglected her physical training. Then Han Sang-a stirs with a groan, and her left hand slowly lifts into the air. Hyunsuk blinks. No way, is she up for more? Then he understands. He told her to raise it, and she really did. On Aid's earpiece hisses static. The referee bellows for attention. The tournament schedule has been changed. Winner Yu Chan-suk, please take a short break. In a moment, winner Yu Chan-suk and an active hunter will have a special match. Hyunsuk blinks. He needs a break now? What are they talking about? Wasn't it over? The crowd is already chanting fight, fight, fight. The announcer calls out that by special permission of the association president, this match has been arranged, and asks the audience for their enthusiastic support. In the commentator's booth, the spiky-haired man behind sunglasses murmurs that in the end, she went and did it. The opponent's identity has already been posted on the monitor that only the audience can see, and judging by the reactions, our boy figures it must be a pretty skilled hunter. He processes it quickly. This is a special match. Did she step up herself to test his abilities? Things like this are the same in that world and on Earth. A great sword tip lowers onto the platform beside him. Lee Seon stands there tall and composed, dark hair falling around her shoulders. She confirms his name, Yu Chun-suk, right? Sorry for showing up without any warning. It seems there was no other way to confirm his skills. She introduces herself as Lee Seon of the Janabi Guild. It seems the stage has been too small for him until now. How about a match with her? He can refuse if it is too much. She would understand, since it was so sudden. Hyunsuk's mind fires off calculations in the back of his skull. Lee Seon is ranked 10th in the World Hunter rankings. The aura and composure coming off her right now is not a bluff, because she is a real pro. In his current body, this fight will be tough even with a spear. But then the young man lifts his head and answers, "Alright, let's do it now." The referee blinks, caught off guard. He means right now. Lee Seon tips her head to one side and admits that honestly she has not used up much stamina so far, and she thinks she might be able to see it. He is fired up, isn't he? Behind them medics are already carrying Han Sang-a out on a stretcher. Hyunsuk exhales slowly. If he has to fight her anyway, this is for the best. Get the best possible results in the tournament. Lee Seon is the perfect opponent for that. Our boy walks over and picks up the association spear and lets its weight settle in his palm. Time for our boy to raise his value. Steel screams against steel as our boy hurls himself against Lee Seon's oversized greatsword. Sparks fly, and the commentator on the sidelines gapes and shouts how a woman's body can hold this much raw power. Hyunsuk twists his spear to deflect another sweeping cut and skids backward across the arena floor. Even with every scrap of technique he possesses, this borrowed body cannot keep up. His face is smeared with dirt and blood. Above him, Lee Seon exhales calmly and notes that compared to the beginning her speed has dropped considerably. Our boy grits his teeth. It is not that there are no openings in her guard. This body just does not have the physical ability to exploit them. Seeing them without being able to reach them drives him half mad. Lee Hsien rests her greatsword on her shoulder and tips her head to one side. She was hoping for a good warm-up for the first time in a while, but is he tired already? Still, he did well. Honestly, she thought he would last about 5 minutes tops. Hyunsuk wipes his mouth and mutters that he never imagined she would hold out for 30 minutes straight. She grins, so now she will make it easy for him. The greatsword rises again. The young man clicks his tongue. He has practically no mana stored up in this body, and there is not much mana in the atmosphere either. He did not want to use it, but he guesses he has to. The greatsword comes down in a full-force overhead swing. Our boy leaps clean sideways as the blade cracks the arena floor open. Lee Hsien blinks. She swung with more than enough force that he should not have been able to dodge that. She narrows her eyes and asks quietly what that is. Hyunsuk lands lightly with black embers already licking along his skin. It is the Paradox Flame. It is his specialty and the one he used constantly before returning to Earth, and the power he trusts most. As she can tell from his unscathed clothes, unlike normal flames, this black fire cannot burn matter. Instead, each flicker consumes the abstract concepts he designates as fuel. With his current output, he cannot yet burn high-ignition concepts like self, memory, or reason. So the concept he will burn right now is fatigue. He dashes forward. Lee Hsien's eyes widen. He has gotten faster. Hyunsuk slips inside her guard and drives a punch at her ribs, and she barely twists away. She stares at his face. He recovered in that short time. Now the tempo of the fight is different. Our boy dodges her sweeping blade in tight arcs, weaving through her range in tight movements. Lee Hsien narrows her eyes and notes that the concentration of mana in the air keeps fluctuating between high and low. The arena settings have not changed, so it could only be one thing. Just as fire releases heat while burning matter, Paradox Flame also releases mana as it burns abstract concepts. Hyunsuk uses mana to ignite the flame, and the flame in turn burns his fatigue to generate more mana. Black fire wraps his entire body in an endless cycle. In other words, his specialty is a self-sustaining engine. Lee Hsien looks him up and down and her jaw tightens. So he is going to keep this up. He is being a stubborn opponent who refuses to let go, which means this is a war of attrition. Hyunsuk stands amid the smoke and swirling embers with a crooked grin, and he tells her he can still keep going, you know. By any chance, does she happen to like guys who don't know when to quit? Lee Hsien answers flat and cold. No, she absolutely hates them. But even a self-sustaining cycle has limits. When you set a tree on fire, only ashes are left behind, and ashes that have already burned cannot be burned again. Paradox Flame also leaves behind a residue. If everything is burned away until only ash remains, that will be when the Paradox Flame disappears. 4 hours and 17 minutes later, it ends. Hyunsuk is on his knees, gasping, the last black embers dying on his ruined uniform. Lee Hsien stands over him and asks whether he wants to go for more. He looks up through the sweat plastering his hair to his forehead and rasps out that he gives up, and he asks for mercy please. The announcer's voice fills the arena. With candidate Yu Chansuk's forfeit, Hunter Lee Hsien is the victor. The crowd erupts. Lee Hsien drops something heavy into his palm. It is a massive spiral lollipop. In the commentator's booth, someone chokes on his own breath and gasps that it is that lollipop. She grins and tells him this is for his hard work. She put her business card in there with it. The card reads Lee Hsien, Jenna B Team 3 Partner Hunter. She adds that they will talk about the details later, so for now, just give her a call. Then she strolls off the arena like it was just another Tuesday. The announcer declares the Hunter selection trials concluded and calls winner Yu Chansuk up to receive his award. Our boy climbs the stage still turning the giant lollipop over in his hand and wondering about the name Jenna B. Is that a Hunter's agency? A bald older man in a bowler hat clears his throat behind the podium and hands him a sleek smartphone. This device has a Hunter license loaded on it. Back in his day, they just gave you a piece of paper. Hyunsuk scrolls through the interface. Hunter Community, Used Equipment Market, Monster Byproduct Sales, Association Emergency Notices, Messaging and Calls via Military Satellite. Everything a hunter could need. It really has everything. Then a shadow falls over him. Someone taller than any doorway is behind him. A voice from above tells him he is Hunter Yu Chansuk, right, and adds that he looks much better in person than on camera. Our boy tilts his head up. This guy is super tall. He must be over 2 meters. He asks who exactly he is talking to. The stranger hands him a card. Yoon Sung-hyun, Partner Hunter, Taebaek. To be precise, this is Yoon Sung-hyun, of the Taebaek Guild. He keeps it short. Come to Taebaek. To be exact, come to his team. If Hyunsuk gains enough experience under him, he will definitely shine. The guy reads the big man carefully. He doesn't seem to be lying. He hands over his own number and asks the man to call him. Internally he adds that he has a prior engagement here so he cannot give a firm answer, and he will think about it a little more before deciding. Yoon Sung-hyun lets out a booming laugh. Did he think Yoon Sung-hyun was going to demand an answer right here and now? However, there is one thing. The big man's hand lands on Hyun-suk's shoulder and squeezes. His face drops close, all teeth. He tells him he better think this through properly. Then a friendly see you around, and he strolls off. Hyun-suk watches him go and thinks, with a small grimace, that he is definitely skipping Taebaek. The phone in his pocket buzzes. Lee Se-eun is on the line. Our boy picks up and asks where he should come. She tells him she is at the hut on the second floor of the Hunter Association building, and she will send the location. Come here. Hyun-suk blinks at the name and wonders what the hut even is. He follows the address and finds himself at a small cafe with a wooden sign, greeted by cheerful staff. Lee Se-eun waves him over from a table. He is here early. Welcome. Have a seat. Hyun-suk settles across from her and remarks that the cafe's name is unusual. She sips through a straw and asks if something happened. He tells her one person tried to recruit him for a guild, and it was a really huge guy. She does not even need him to say the name. It was Yoon Sung-hyun of Taebaek. Since Yoon Sung-hyun himself showed interest, the other guilds would not have even dared to make an offer. Hyun-suk's eyes flick up. Doesn't that mean it is the same for Janabi? Lee Se-eun sets her drink down with a soft laugh. She has no intention of recruiting him. Our boy blinks. What? Then why? She leans forward with a mischievous grin. How about working without being affiliated with a guild? As a freelancer, she means. Hyun-suk's brow furrows. He doesn't have to belong to a guild? Lee Se-eun explains that Yoon Sung-hyun was probably going to offer him a junior position. The young man asks what a junior is and what a partner hunter is. She nods. He said he was not from the Hunter Academy, right? The ranks for hunters belonging to a guild are usually divided into 3, and they are junior, senior, and partner. Juniors and seniors belong to teams led by partner hunters, and he can think of them as salaried employees. Partner hunters hold shares in the guild instead of a salary and share the net profits the guild earns. Hyun-suk processes it. That sounds exactly like a law firm. She nods. She has heard the hunter who first established the guilds actually used law firms as a model. Lee Se-eun continues that he does not necessarily have to belong to a guild and grind through the junior and senior ranks to become a partner hunter. Our boy's eyes narrow. He thinks he gets it. If he becomes famous and achieves respectable results, they will automatically come looking for him. Exactly, she says, and drops another candy in front of him. He stares at it and wonders internally why she keeps giving him candy. Our boy points out the catch. Since he has no connections and no experience, it will be hard for him to land any proper requests. Lee Se-eun folds her hands. She will help him with that, and it will be free of charge. He looks up at her guardedly and admits that he does not understand why she would do this much for him. She tells him plainly. In the future, when he has built up enough of a reputation to be recruited by a guild, she just wants him to remember that there was a place called Janabi. Hyun-suk exhales through his nose, so she is putting him in her debt. Lee Se-eun smiles sweetly and slides a folder of documents across the table. Want to take a look at this? Though it is his choice whether he does it or not. Our boy picks it up. What is this? It is a request from Incheon City. There is a place called Gyeodongdo Island, where a corrosion zone formed 2 years ago, after a failed attempt to eliminate a corrosion rift. Hyun-suk flips a page, so he just has to go and get rid of this corrosion rift. Lee Se-eun shakes her head. No, he will be patrolling Gyeodongdo Island, so that means checking if any additional corrosion rifts have appeared, and getting rid of them if they do. It starts in 1 month. 5 million won up front, with an additional 15 million upon success. Hyun-suk tips his head, considering. The pay isn't exactly great, considering this is a life-threatening job. Lee Se-eun smirks. If it feels unfair, then get stronger and become famous. Money will flow into his pockets even if they are already full. She fixes him with a look. So what is his answer? Our boy opens his mouth and tells her that he will do it. The camera cuts away to a black sedan cruising along a highway at dusk. Lee Se-eun is stretched out in the back seat. A gruff voice from the front asks, so he is good, huh? And what kind of guy is he? She answers that his name is Yoo Chun-suk, a civilian, and he cleared a weapons mandatory tournament with his bare hands. The driver replies simply that it is not bad. She snorts that not bad is not appropriate here. He lasted 4 whole hours against her. The voice comes back skeptical. Really? Isn't that because she limited her power? Lee Se-eun leans forward. Boss, she is a veteran hunter with 10 years of experience, all of it built on surviving hellish places. Normally she should have been able to toy with him, but he lasted 4 whole hours, my god. Even if she were reborn, she doubts she would ever see another monster like him. The view shifts to the coastline of Incheon City and Gyeodongdo Island. Kang-hoon is Janabi's founder and first team leader, and he replies that no matter how highly she rates him, the Gyeongdo Island mission specifically requested hunters with prior mission experience. His skills may be excellent, but will he really be able to hold his own when teaming up with veteran hunters? Lee Se-eun answers that if that is the concern, don't worry boss, and she has paired him up with someone reliable. In the distance, a slim figure with pale wind-swept hair walks along the shoreline with a long weapon slung over one shoulder. Kang-hoon exhales and tells her all right. She is the brains of the operation at Janabi, so he will trust her. That kid, he asks, what does she think hell will be like if he reaches her level? Lee Se-eun answers without hesitation. He might not like to hear this, but if Yoo Chin-suk reaches her level, he will be able to take the boss down as well. Somewhere in the fading light, our boy stands with a long blade slung over his shoulder, dark hair falling across his eyes, staring straight ahead into whatever comes next. 1 month earlier, a delivery driver hauls a suspiciously long package up to apartment 1506, grumbling that it is heavy as hell and wondering what on earth the occupant ordered. Inside, our boy hears the knock, mutters that it is here, and drags the parcel over the threshold. He pops the wrapping open, exhales at the unbelievable length of the thing, and hefts a plain steel spear into a testing grip. This spear should be fine. Next he unpacks a slim glass vial glowing faintly green. It is an elixir. In this world, an elixir is a potion hunters use in emergencies. It contains condensed mana and is really helpful when mana is urgently needed. The typical way of handling mana works the same way as drinking water from a purifier. A hunter controls the ambient mana, stores it in the body, then draws on it when needed, and the elixir just compresses that whole slow buildup into one gulp. Hyunsuk stares at the bottle and thinks that he uses mana in a different way than others. He skips the storage step entirely, and he just pulls mana directly out of the air, uses it on the spot, then pushes it back out. The advantage is that there is no cap on his supply, since the atmosphere is endless. Better still, in the process of pulling mana in and letting it out, the channels his mana passes through gradually strengthen, which does make it hard to produce a strong output in a short window. And that is exactly the problem right now. Since he does not have the time to wait, it seems best to store some of it before using it. He tips the vial toward the light with a slow smile. If he trains with this for about a month, our boy should be able to grow just as much as he needs. The story jumps forward 1 month. The coastline of Incheon comes into view with Gyeongdo Island rising out of the sea in the distance. A boat carries a squad of hunters over the calm water. Hyunsuk, now traveling under his registered name Yoo Chun-suk, arrives at the assembly point and scans his phone against a QR reader. A civil servant type nods and confirms his identity. Hunter Yoo Chun-suk is in Squad 8. A small placard with an 8 is pinned to a plastic chair. Our boy finds his seat while nearby hunters mutter about pay, and one of them admits under his breath that he is scared. Hyunsuk arrives yawning and mumbling that he is sleepy, and asks aloud whether this is number 8. A voice calls his name and says Yoo Chun-suk. He turns and there she is. A silver-haired young woman with a katana at her waist stands watching him, hair now falling smooth and straight around her shoulders. She notes plainly that his hair seems to have settled down. Hyunsuk blinks. Han Sung-ah calmly clarifies that this is her normal hair, and that other look was just static electricity from the fight. Han Sung-ah adds that they are in the same squad, so that is great. She wants them to work together during this mission. The young man answers dryly, and asks why he should. Because he is stronger than her, and she thinks she can watch and learn from him. Hyunsuk's mouth twitches. Internally he groans about how his shoulders are about to fall off from the sheer awe, from the embarrassment so embarrassing. Oh. Out loud and straight-faced he asks her whether her shoulders dislocate often. Chronic dislocation is really dangerous, especially for a spear user such as herself, and what is she going to do about it? She should really take medicine for that. Han Sung-ah stares at him blankly. Hyunsuk thinks to himself that this is exactly like that match. This kid has zero sense of humor. A staff member on the platform calls for attention. Since everyone in Squad 8 has gathered, they will now have the mission briefing. The briefing officer explains that since they have hunters participating for the first time, he will walk through the terminology as well. Hyunsuk internally wonders if the man is talking about him. The officer asks for their kind understanding. A holographic diagram flickers up. Corrosion rifts are classified as Class 1, 2, 3 and unclassified. The closer the rift is to Class 1, the more dangerous it is. The first corrosion rift to appear in a specific area is also given the extra name Alpha. Currently, the Alpha corrosion rift on Gyeongdo Island is located inside the church in the northern part of Insari. Although it is still an unclassified rift, considering that corrosion rifts get stronger over time, they kindly ask the squad to refrain from approaching it. Their mission is to patrol Upne-ri and Gudongmyeon to identify and eliminate any additional corrosion rifts that may have appeared. A hunter with spiky orange hair leans over his tablet and mutters that this is an elimination mission for a squad with a rookie in it. The boat pulls into the shore, and someone announces that they have already arrived at Gudongdo Island. Hyunsuk feels the wind change against his face. He notes silently that he can feel the chilling energy even from here. It feels like his blood is turning cold. Around him, the hunters go pale and quiet. Hyunsuk clicks his tongue. They are all being so dramatic. The group disembarks onto the cracked pier. The offshore control room will be tracking the situation on the island, and if the squad needs help, they should contact them. The officer tells the hunters that he wishes them all the best. Our boy spreads a map across a nearby rock and gets down to business. First off, the plan is that they need to scout the 2 areas over the course of a week. He taps a spot on the map. They should set up a base at Hwagesa Temple and operate from there. The orange-haired hunter tilts his head with a small curious noise. A stocky senior with glasses steps forward and demands to know who Hyunsuk even is. He has not seen him around before, and he asks if he is a rookie, and more importantly, why on earth are they going to Hwagesa Temple? Hyunsuk answers evenly. From Hwagesa Temple they can see Upne-ri, and from the peak of Hwagesan they can see Gyeodongmyeon directly. The old temple building is still there, so they can also use it as lodging. Isn't it obvious? The senior explodes that there are plenty of places to stay nearby. Another hunter chimes in nervously, and asks what if they get surrounded after needlessly climbing a mountain. The young man pinches the bridge of his nose. They are not fighting thousands of enemies. How can they possibly get surrounded up there? Geez. The senior throws his arms up. Anyway, he is not following the orders of some inexperienced hunter. Hyunsuk exhales and mutters to himself that idiots who defy logic exist in every world apparently. So the guy asks why doesn't the senior just go act separately. Just like that, the squad splits. Hyunsuk, Hunsang-ah, and the orange-haired flame hunter head inland toward the mountain temple, while the others wander off along the coast. As they move through the tall grass, our boy glances sideways. He expected Hunsang-ah to follow, but who is this new guy? His mana density is slightly higher than Hunsang-ah's. Hyunsuk slows and turns. He remembers the flame hunter said his name is Kim Min-jae, right? He is curious why he followed them. Kim Min-jae scratches the back of his head and admits that this is the first mission for both of the rookies, isn't it? He was worried about letting 2 rookies act on their own. Hyunsuk bows her head slightly and thanks him for his consideration. So there is at least one decent person here. He is about to say something else when he suddenly holds up a hand and tells them to wait. Kim Min-jae blinks and calls out to Yuchun-suksi. Hyunsuk grabs the back of his head and pushes him gently down against the ridge. He tells him to be quiet and have a peek over the other side. Kim Min-jae goes stiff. Hunsang-ah eases forward beside them. The 3 of them look down into a small clearing choked with mist. Bat-headed goblins fill the hollow. Dozens of them are hunched around a low fire, crude spears and bows leaning within reach. Kim Min-jae pulls back with a strangled whisper. They should take a detour because there are too many, at least 50 of them. Hyunsuk answers calmly. He tells him to calm down, and he asks Hunter Kim Min-jae what his unique skill is. Kim Min-jae's face twists. He asks what and wonders if Hyunsuk is thinking of fighting them. Hyunsuk tilts his head. Isn't it natural for a hunter to fight corrosion creatures? He asks again what his unique skill is. Kim Min-jae swallows and answers that it is flame. Hyunsuk asks what skill he is most confident in. Kim Min-jae hesitates and answers that it is his fireball. That is good. Then on Hyunsuk's signal, he will please attack first. Kim Min-jae's face goes white. He asks what he should do and turns to Hunsang-ah to see if she is going along with this too. He whispers hoarsely that it is reckless to face 50 of them with just the 3 of them, and besides, didn't Hyunsuk say this was his first mission? They should radio the other hunters while they still can. Hyunsuk shakes his head. They won't arrive in time. Unlike the 3 of them who departed directly from Hwagesa Temple, the other hunters are currently searching along the coast. It is reckless to radio them because there is no guarantee the ones who hear the radio will actually arrive. And if these things scatter while the 3 of them wait, they could become a threat to the other hunters. Kim Min-jae's shoulders drop. Hyunsuk is right. Even if there happens to be a hunter nearby, they might not come right away because of the earlier conflict. Hyunsuk crouches lower. That means they have to deal with them. In this relatively disadvantageous situation, what they need to do is land a surprise attack. There is no time, so he will explain immediately. He snaps off a twig and sketches a quick diagram in the dirt. He tells Min-jae that he will first attack the center with a fireball, and Hyunsuk will block the sides, and Hunsang-ah will handle the flankers, and that is the plan. Kim Min-jae's eyes widen as he watches the sketch. Such a detailed strategy, and he is anticipating every possibility. Why does Kim Min-jae get the feeling that this guy has experienced this kind of battle countless times? Who in the world is he? The three of them slip into position around the clearing. Kim Min-jae draws a deep breath and gathers a swelling ball of flame in his open palm. Hyunsuk's eyes lock on the goblins below. It is time. The fireball rockets from Kim Min-jae's hand and detonates dead center among the bat-headed creatures. Fire and shrapnel erupt across the clearing, and the goblins shriek in a chorus of keening cries. 6 drop instantly and 3 more collapse wounded. Kim Min-jae gasps that he needs a moment before he can fire the next fireball. Hyunsuk is already moving. He got it. Shoot as soon as he is ready. Hyunsuk charges spear first into the panicked mass, thinking as he moves that he prioritizes efficiency in battle. To achieve maximum efficiency, dividing roles is essential. He carves through the front line as goblins scramble for their weapons. Until the next fireball is ready, he will take care of the other ones so they don't get close to Kim Min-jae. He knows he cannot block all of them by himself, and a few slip past him in the chaos and streak toward the flame hunter. Han Song-a's blade flashes and drops them clean. The goblins screech and fall. That is why dividing the roles matters. Behind them, Kim Min-jae's voice cuts through the noise. He calls out to Chen-suk-si that he is ready. Hyunsuk pivots hard and shouts that he will get out of the way, and tells him to shoot. He dives clear as another fireball rips through the center of the clearing. The explosion swallows everything in an orange blast. Our boy plants his spear tip against the ground with teeth bared and roars at Kim Min-jae to kill them both. A second later, a third burst tears the last knot of goblins apart, and the clearing goes still. When the smoke thins, Hyunsuk stands in the ash with his spear resting across one shoulder, back to the camera, breathing slow. From behind, Kim Min-jae's voice carries. He starts to say that everyone did a good job, but the words trail off. Hyunsuk turns. Kim Min-jae is standing there with a pistol raised and leveled straight ahead, hands steady and eyes cold. Our boy's brow furrows. He asks Kim Min-jae what he is doing. For a split second his blood goes cold, because he honestly thinks the guy just drew on him. Then the little device gives a soft click and drops a chip into the dirt. He lets out a quiet breath and admits to himself that he really thought Min-jae was about to shoot him. Chen-suk asks if that was a microchip. Min-jae nods and explains that once the mission wraps up and the area is clear, the junk dealer he has a contract with will come along to collect anything of value from the monster corpses. Chen-suk echoes the term back and asks what a junk dealer even is. Min-jae walks him through the whole system. Hunters cannot lug corpse loot around while fighting, so they tag the bodies with these chips. After the operation, the junk dealer sweeps through, appraises the goods, sells them, takes a cut based on the contract, and passes the rest back to whoever planted the chip. Chen-suk asks the obvious question of whether these guys can actually be trusted. Min-jae tells him that is exactly why you find a good junk dealer and lock them in with a proper contract. Even paying a higher cut is worth it if the person is reliable. Han Sang-a bounces in beaming and tells Chen-suk he was amazing, and she never imagined the three of them could handle so many of those things on their own. And then something behind them cracks the moment in half. A dark shape crashes down with a rush of purple aura and jagged slashes tearing through the air, and Han Sang-a's breath catches in her throat. The young man checks that she is okay before his eyes lock on what just landed in front of them, and he mutters that this is definitely some kind of mid-boss. His mind flashes back to the smaller creatures they killed earlier, and he wonders if this is the leader of those pincer things from before. He takes stock and realizes the mana pouring off this thing sits on an entirely different level from the small fries they have been mowing down. He orders them to fall back and tells them not to interfere. Kim Min-jae pushes back that if this monster is hunting the three of them, the two of them will never escape without help. Han Sang-a agrees that they should buy time with a pincer attack, then pull back and report the situation. Chen-suk's patience snaps. He barks at them to stop talking and get back, and asks if they want to go home in a body bag. Both of them flinch and step away. Inwardly, our boy admits it is actually better this way. Alone, he can let Paradox Flame run wild without worrying about burning his own teammates, and he can finish this fast. He fixes his eyes on the beast and mocks it, telling the thing to come on, you bat bastard, and the fight begins. Han Sang-a watches from the sidelines with hands twitching toward her sword, and asks Kim Min-jae if they should be helping. Min-jae thinks Chen-suk looks worried, but Han Sang-a shakes her head. There is no need. Her eyes widen because she realizes something impossible is happening in front of her. Chen-suk has not been hit even once. Not a single clean strike has landed. Every swing that would have forced her to burn everything just to dodge, he is slipping past almost casually, and attacking at the same time. On top of that, every time his spear connects, black flames flicker to life on the monster's body. She has no idea what those flames are, but as they spread, the monster keeps getting slower. Min-jae's jaw tightens beside her. Whatever the rough opening of this fight suggested, Chen-suk is toying with the thing now. Han Sung-ah's chest goes cold with a single thought. Is this guy really a rookie hunter such as herself? How is any of this even possible? The hero finishes it clean. He slips inside the monster's guard and drives his spear straight for its skull. The beast can barely lift its own limbs now, and its muscles are turned to dead weight by the flames eating them from within. Chan-suk hurls the spear next, and the weapon cracks the air and buries itself deep in the monster's chest. Han Sung-ah cries out for him to watch out, but his face stays calm. He notes with mild surprise that the thing can still twitch after everything he has burned out of it, and he decides to finish it for good. One more strike ends it. He swears it looked like Chan-suk was getting pushed back, and now the monster is on the ground and he cannot understand what just happened. Chan-suk turns to him and asks calmly whether it is normal for a monster like that to show up on Gyeodongdo Island. Min-jae stammers that he was wondering the same thing. For an entity that is not even the core of the corrosion rift, it could only be possible if there were a corrosion zone with a rift rated at least grade 3. He explains that corrosion rifts are divided into 4 tiers, from grade 1 down through grade 2, grade 3 and unclassified at the bottom. During the pre-mission briefing they were all told the alpha corrosion rift on Gyeodongdo Island sat at unclassified. Given what they just killed, the only rational explanation is that the alpha has climbed all the way to grade 3. Han Sung-ah's breath hitches and she protests that the briefing said otherwise. Chan-suk tells her to think about it rationally, and if it is not grade 3, there is no other way to explain the situation. Kim Min-jae warns that the difference between an unclassified rift and a grade 3 one is absolutely massive. Han Sung-ah's face drains of color as she works out the implication. If that is really true, the number of hunters on this island who make it back alive will be close to none. Kim Min-jae turns to Chan-suk with something like hope in his eyes and pleads with him to go save the other hunters. With his skills, Min-jae insists, even a grade 3 rift would not stop him. Chan-suk answers flatly. He rejects. Min-jae's face collapses and he asks why. Chan-suk tells him he has limits too, and if he cannot do something, he cannot. Their mission is not to rescue hunters in peril, but to identify and eliminate any new corrosion rifts that have appeared. On top of that, in work like this, no one goes in expecting everyone to come home alive. Han Sang-ah cannot let it go. She asks Chan-suk what he himself would do in that same situation. Chan-suk blinks and Han Sang-ah presses him. Would he not feel that it was unfair, feel resentful, and beg to be saved? So naturally, Chan-suk should feel compassion and go rescue them. Our boy's voice drops low and hard. He tells Han Sang-ah he is not saying this because he does not understand the emotions people would feel in that spot. He is talking about the outcome. In this world, some deaths are unavoidable. When you face a death of that sort, no matter what you think or what you feel, you die. So do not get swayed by a desperate situation. You cannot survive in a world like this with that kind of mindset. His years in the other world watching bright-eyed young adventurers die screaming for help that never came sit unspoken behind every word. They reach a quiet building on the way to their post. Han Sang-ah checks the perimeter and reports that the building looks fine, with no traces of other corrupted beings. Chan-suk climbs to a vantage point and scans the dark countryside below. Min-jae notes that at least they can see the other hunters' locations clearly. Thanks to the lights the other squads are burning. Chan-suk mutters that it is dark and nothing special is visible. His mind is already moving though. Using lights out there is suicidal since it broadcasts your location. If it were just small fries roaming around, it would not matter. But if another one of those mid-bosses shows up, those bright little dots on the map become graves. He decides to at least send a warning. His message goes out to every squad on the island. This is Yu Chen-suk of Squad 8. Considering the level of the monster they just encountered, there is a possibility the Alpha Corrosion Rift has climbed to grade 3. Everyone should refrain from using lights recklessly. Later, sitting with Kim Min-jae in the quiet of the safe house, Chen-suk circles back to what he really needs to know. If you destroy the core of the Corrosion Rift, he asks, do all the corrupted beings just disappear? Min-jae confirms it. Without the energy radiating from the rift, the entire corrupted zone collapses on itself. Chan-suk mulls that over for a beat, and his internal decision snaps into place instantly. Then this is simple. He will just destroy the corrosion rift himself. Our boy picks up the little alarm device Min-jae showed them earlier, the one that shrieks if any monster approaches. With this in hand, he tells himself, the two of them can rest safely while he is gone. He waits until deep in the night. Once Kim Min-jae and Han Sang-ae are asleep, our boy slips out of the safe house alone. Our boy moves through the dark toward the northern edge of the island, spear across his back, and mind already fixed on the Alpha Corrosion Rift he memorized from the briefing map. It is a good thing, he thinks, that he locked in the location beforehand. At this rate everything should go smoothly. Then the alarm chimes. He freezes mid-step and lets out a bitter breath, and mutters that he jinxed it. A low growl rolls out of the dark and he turns with his spear coming up. He mutters that it is that thing again and half expects a familiar shape to step into the moonlight. But what looms out of the shadows is not familiar at all. The thing is massive and hunched, wrapped in a dark violet haze, and its fanged face is one he has never seen before in his life. Inside the Gyeodongdo Island Hunter Association's Situation Room, and it is anything but calm. Handlers rush between monitors as reports pour in. A voice announces that they have lost the signals of several hunters from Team 5 and they are presumed dead. There are reports that the monsters are moving in an organized fashion, and one confirmed casualty from Team 3 has just landed. The manager slams his hand against the desk and demands to know what the hell has been going on in a mere unclassified corrosion rift. He calls it what it is. This is a full emergency. He orders the emergency contact network activated and an urgent request for reinforcements sent out to every hunter in the vicinity. Then another handler bolts up from his screen with wide eyes and reports that someone is approaching the Alpha Corrosion Rift. The manager whips around and his face goes tight. He barks at the room to contact whoever it is and tell them to stop at once, and to tell him who the hell it is. The answer comes back fast. It is Hunter Yu Chensuk, from Team 8. On the far side of the island, our boy Hyunsuk, walking around in Chensuk's body, is in the middle of trading blows with a beast much faster than he expected. Recognition ripples through the Situation Room. Chensuk is the first person to identify the Corrosion Rift upgrade, and he was already moving toward the Alpha Rift when contact went dark. The manager orders them to connect to his terminal immediately and confirm that he is alive. A Corrosion Rift climbing tiers is an unprecedented event, and Chensuk is the first person to actually grasp the situation and head straight for the source. If anyone has an answer, it has to be him. A handler shouts that they have just connected, and the line explodes. Chensuk's voice comes in ragged and furious, and he snarls that it is way faster than he thought. Then he curses the whole room for handing him a briefing that called this thing unclassified. Our boy tells them he is only barely holding it because they are crazy bastards, and asks if they do not bother to investigate properly, just because they are not the ones fighting. He announces that every single one of them, listening, better believe that when he gets back, he is going to carve a corrosion rift into each of their faces. A pale handler asks if he should mute the line. Back on the ridge, the young man is already inside his own head. He notes with cold precision that his paradox flame in its current state is not strong enough to kill this thing. Against a strong entity, he has to whittle its health down with paradox flame and then finish it off with the spear. But this beast will not go down. He curses inwardly that he drew too much of Gyeodongdo Island's mana for the giant bat during the day, so his power is nowhere near what it usually is. Since he cannot leave the island, he needs to find a place right here where he can pull mana back into himself. Our boy scans the terrain, and his eyes lock on a dark circular tier in the earth. He found it. The Alpha Corrosion Rift sits gaping open in front of him, and it is exactly the mana well he needs. The beast lunges again, wreathed in violet lightning, and its long fanged snout snaps at his back. He runs for the rift with the monster on his heels and drops straight through the black mouth. As he plunges in, he tosses a mocking line back over his shoulder that the beast had better keep up. He admits to himself with a grin that there is something he needs to check in there anyway. Above ground, back in the Situation Room, a display flickers and a red warning blooms across every monitor. The GPS signal has been lost. The room stiffens as another handler stammers out the words no one wanted to hear. Hunter Yu Chensuk has entered the Alpha Corrosion Rift. The manager's face crumples and he can only mutter a bitter damn it under his breath. Inside the rift, Chensuk lands quietly on strange ground and takes stock of the space around him. He murmurs that it is cleaner than he thought. Our boy remembers Han Sang-ah telling him that unclassified and grade 3 corrosion rifts are not that big, and he wonders idly just how big grades 1 and 2 must actually be. His answer arrives from behind. The beast has followed him in, and this time it speaks. In a low rasp it purrs that now that his tour of the corrosion rift is over, shall the two of them put an end to their relationship. Chensuk does not even bother turning around. He tells it flatly that he is not the clingy type. The beast lunges and the fight resumes. As he moves, his inner voice picks up where it left off. One of the biggest problems of Paradox Flame, he explains to himself, is that it does not distinguish. It spreads to every living being except him, even an ally. Therefore, if it reaches a level he can no longer control, it has the drawback of becoming unusable. But there is still a way around that. His eyes narrow and a wolfish grin creeps across his face. If he fights alone, that drawback is as good as not having a drawback at all. The young man whispers the line that changes the whole equation. The important part starts now. He plants himself and lets the black flames swell without restraint. This time they have nowhere to go but into the beast and into the air itself. He describes the process in his head in the same way a craftsman would talk through a favorite trick. The mana he absorbs from the burning around him spreads to every corner of his body, widening his mana pathways and making them stronger. Piece by piece he can feel himself scaling up. He notes with a satisfied smile that this is more efficient than he even thought it would be. A chorus of roars answers his little upgrade. More monsters come flooding out of the deeper dark, called by the core to reinforce the fight. Chan-suk looks at them and lets a low chuckle slip. He laughs and says so that is what the thing was up to. It called for backup. Well, too bad. Trying to overwhelm him with numbers is meaningless now. He carves through the wave. The blue charged spear whips through monster after monster, and the black flames drift from each corpse and stack themselves onto the next. When the last of the backup drops, our boy is standing in a field of ash, spear resting easy in his hand, mana density in the air still climbing. He measures himself against what he used to be and admits inwardly that he is several times stronger than before. It is still not enough to compare to what he was in the other world though. He turns his eyes to the deeper darkness and wonders where the actual core of this corrosion rift is. According to Hunter Kim Min-jae, it is supposed to be the strongest corrosion creature in this space, and right on cue a shadow swells out of the black and swings a huge clawed limb at his back. Chan-suk's hand snaps up without looking, and his palm catches the strike cold in mid-air. He tells it to stop that. The core stands revealed, a hulking beast crowned with a wild white mane and glowing purple eyes fixed on him. Our boy smiles slowly at it, so it was waiting for his paradox flame to die out. It can even talk, and it is pretty smart. He notes with real interest that the core of a corrosion rift really is on another level. Then he plants his feet and rolls his shoulders. He mutters that at this level he should be able to manage a 4-hit combo. He announces the technique out loud and calls it dual orbit spear. The young man drives forward, and a shimmering blue trajectory ignites in the air behind his weapon, tracing the exact arc of his first strike. A blue trajectory is generated, following the path of his attack, and that trajectory perfectly mimics the first strike, repeating it 4 times. If he attacks together with the trajectory, it is just a simple technique that repeats 4 consecutive strikes. Then he asks the real question, but what if the blue trajectory attacks a beat late? The answer plays out live in front of the core. His spear thrusts and the blue trail thrusts a heartbeat later from a different angle, completing a tricky 2-part spear round that is difficult to dodge. Faced with a pincer attack unfolding with a time lag, the opponent is bound to make a mistake. The core throws its arms up in a panic block, its head snaps the wrong way, and Chan-suk's real strike opens a gash across its body from the direction it stopped watching. His voice drops to a whisper. It is over. 4 strikes and 4 blue echoes land as a single devastating flurry. The core's massive body jerks, seizes and then bursts apart in a blinding blue-white flash. Chan-suk stands in the settling glow, breathing steady, spear planted at his side. He blinks. He thought the thing would just disappear and that would be it. Then he spots something floating quietly in the air where the core stood. He reaches out and plucks it out of the drift. He wonders aloud what it is, and finds himself holding a small box. Back at the Situation Room, things are somehow even worse than before. Reports slam in from every direction. The corrupted zone is spreading from the center of Gyeodongdo Island. A handler is yelling at another team to guide the hunters properly, and asking if they are trying to get them all killed. They have lost the signals from the hunters of Team 9. The hunters who responded to the reinforcement request have arrived, but they have run straight into monsters, and interference is making landing at Gyeodongdo nearly impossible. The manager stands in the middle of it all, and his face slowly hollows out. He mutters to himself and asks if this is it. Unless a miracle happens, does he have any choice but to stand here and watch as the hunters are all wiped out? Then a voice cracks the air and calls out to the manager. A message has arrived from Hunter Yu Chan-suk, the one who entered the Alpha Corrosion Rift. The manager spins around and demands to know what it says. The handler shouts that he will put it on the main screen right now. The message blooms across the wall in bold letters. This is a broadcast to all. The Alpha Corrosion Rift on Gyeodongdo Island has been taken care of. Confirmation follows on the heels of the announcement. The Alpha Corrosion Rift signal on Gyeodongdo Island has vanished. Elimination has been confirmed, and there is more. They have also confirmed the annihilation of all corrosion creatures that had encountered the hunters. The room falls into a stunned hush. The manager stares at the screen and his voice comes out small and unsteady. He says it is a miracle, but how did this happen? Outside on the island, the answer is standing under a clear night sky with a spear across his back and a small box tucked under his arm. Our boy tips his head up, breathes in slow, and the chapter closes on the quiet line that rolls out of him with something close to contentment. The air is nice. Han Sang-ah swinging her katana in wild lightning arcs against a swarm of monsters, and her body is already screaming for rest. Every strike lands, but the black horde keeps coming, and her mind starts slipping into panic. There are so many of them now, she notes to herself, and Yu Chen-suk is gone too. Beside her, Kim Min-jae wheezes on the edge of collapse, and Sang-ah calls his name in a whisper. She wonders in the dark of her own head whether the two of them will make it out of this alive. Her thoughts spiral further. Kim Min-jae is already at his limit, and she does not know how much longer she can hold on either. A bat-headed monster rushes her with a shriek, and its claws hook her guard aside. Sang-ah's blade slips. She mutters that her legs will not hold her up. Kim Min-jae's voice cracks the air as he screams her name, but the monster is already looming above her with jaws parted wide. Then a heavy thud shakes the ground. The monster's body slams down beside her, dead before it hit the dirt. Sang-ah's stunned eyes flick up to a silhouette standing tall in the smoke. She barely manages a startled sound, and then it hits her. The monsters are gone. All of them are down. What is happening? At the Gyeodongdo Island Hunter Assembly Point, wounded hunters lean against tents and medics move between stretchers. Our boy Hyun-suk walks in through the gathering, with his coat over one shoulder, and lets out a low remark that there are a lot of injured people here. He guesses the corruption creatures went on a rampage while he was gone. The hunters around him stare at him with faces gone pale. Whispers ripple through the crowd. They keep passing the name Yu Chen-suk around, and someone asks if they are really saying that guy took down a grade 3 corrosion rift all by himself. That cannot be right. How on earth did he pull it off? A voice cuts through the murmurs and calls out his name. Han Sang-ah half runs, half limps toward him with her sword still in her hand, and Chan-suk gives her a lazy grin as he greets her and points out that there she is. Kim Min-jae staggers over close behind, still catching his breath, and admits he was shocked when he got Chan-suk's text. He asks how our boy could even think of taking on the corrosion rift alone. Chan-suk scratches the back of his head and tells them, in a voice pitched to be overheard, that to protect the hunters it was not his body that moved but his heart. Sang-ah and Min-jae both mutter something under their breath that sounds a lot the same word. Chan-suk admits inwardly that since things went well he might as well act the part of a good guy. Min-jae sighs that if he had known he would have set out before sundown. Before the reunion can settle, a suited man approaches at a brisk pace with several colleagues in tow. He calls Chan-suk by name and introduces himself as Byun Jung-tae, the third branch manager for the northern Gyeonggi Incheon province at the Korea Operating Corporation. Chan-suk clocks him as the man who first told him to come to Gyeodongdo. Byun nods and asks if he has a moment. The mayor would like to see him. Chan-suk mutters inwardly that ordering people around must be a common trait among old folks. Then he adjusts his mental math. Come to think of it, the contract did not mention how much of a bonus he would receive for clearing a grade 3 corrosion rift, did it? Since he is being called in anyway, he might as well negotiate the price. At the entrance to Incheon City Hall, in a light rain, a smiling man with an umbrella meets him at the curb. It is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Yu Chen-suk, he says, and he introduces himself as Lee Piljae, the Communications and Liaison Officer. As they walk in together, Piljae shares that the mayor has been sincerely looking forward to this meeting, and that when the report came in from Gyeodongdo Island early that morning, it shocked him. After seeing it, the mayor cancelled his entire morning. Chan-suk tips his head with mild amusement and asks if that is really so, and adds that they could have just met later since it is not like he did anything that impressive. Piljae waves the modesty off. He insists Chan-suk should not say that. A rookie hunter destroying a grade 3 corrosion rift single-handedly has not happened since the time when the very first hunter, the great pioneer, was still active. Chan-suk files that away without letting it show on his face. He supposes not. He did find it tough to handle alone. But to think there was a precedent for what he just did. That first hunter, whoever he was, must be the real monster. The elevator opens on the top floor, and Piljae ushers him into a wide office. Piljae announces that Hunter Yu Chan-suk is here. A middle-aged man in a crisp suit stands from behind the desk, wearing the biggest smile in the room. He booms out, "Thank you for coming all this way," and offers his hand. He introduces himself as Park Yun, mayor of Incheon. His apologies for calling Chan-suk out in such awful weather. He waves the young man toward the sofa and asks Officer Lee Piljae to bring some coffee. Once they are settled, Mayor Park Yun leans forward and lays the flattery on thick. He tells our boy he has truly done a great service for their country. As the mayor of Incheon, he says Gyeodongdo Island was truly a pain in the neck. They had to deal with it, but the budget was limited and hiring an expensive guild was difficult. He tells our boy he must be glad it has been taken care of this time, especially since he resolved it at a relatively low cost. Our boy answers dryly that he supposes it is. The mayor's smile does not waver. However, he adds he heard that this was Chansuk's first commission. He confirms it was indeed his first. The mayor's eyes light up. To think that such an incredible person's first steps as a hunter were in Incheon. As mayor, he is so proud. He pushes to his feet and starts pacing with arms spread. The safest country in the world is the Republic of Korea, and here in Incheon they are one of Korea's key regions. That is because countless goods come and go thanks to the wonderful infrastructure of Incheon Airport. On top of that, thanks to the Free Economic Zone project, international cities like Songdo and Cheongna have drawn in so many foreign investors that it is difficult to even choose from all the offers. The massive funds coming through Incheon's international cities. The goods transported through the airport. He winds his little sermon down with a promise. He will ensure that the path Mr. Yu Chansuk walks as a hunter will be a smooth one. He will provide assistance. Then the mayor changes his tone and settles back into his chair. He asks Chansuk to allow him to ask one thing. Could Chansuk tell him what his purpose is for being a hunter? Chansuk considers the question and then he answers it with a straight face. If there is a clogged toilet spewing filth, someone has to dive into the shit water and unclog it. The mayor blinks and says he sees. He steeples his fingers and pivots. The young man will become famous. Skilled hunters are extremely popular. There will be companies asking him to shoot commercials, and he may even get scouted for famous TV shows. It seems, he says gently, that Chansuk is worried he will change due to fame. Yes, this is a real concern. There are many cases of promising hunters who become intoxicated with popularity and honor and lose sight of their duty. In a way that is only natural. Just across the truce line, the dangerous corrosion zone is full of menacing monsters. The only safe place is Korea. It is called the last sanctuary left on Earth after all. But even that is being swayed by the power of capital. The mayor leans forward again with genuine-looking warmth in his eyes. What Chansuk has accomplished this time is incredible. Many people in difficult situations will be watching him with interest. Chansuk murmurs that he just wants to do his job, and the mayor picks up the sentence for him. He hopes that Chansuk will continue to be a symbol of hope. Our boy hears him out to the end and then reflects quietly that he was curious how far they would push it. The man is not even trying to hide the pitch. He is just laying it all out on the table. Unfortunately for him, Chansuk is not the type to be swayed by something at that level. He has lived too long. He has suffered through countless hardships. When the mayor finishes his song, our boy tilts his head and asks the real question. If the mayor is going to provide him with this much support, he is sure there is something he has to do in return, right? For starters, helping a mayor with falling approval ratings get re-elected. The mayor's smile cracks at the corners. He laughs uneasily and comments that the guy is quite well informed. The young man shrugs and tells him that you can find all sorts of things on your phone these days. He lays out what he read. The mayor's term is scheduled to end early next year, and looking at how things are going, the general consensus is that re-election will be difficult. The mayor coughs and shifts gears. Well, Chansuk is direct. Actually, in the process of Chansuk participating in this commission, he needed the Incheon mayor's permission, and he asks if Chansuk did not need approval from Incheon City Hall. Chansuk reads the play instantly. Unlike what the public announcement said, it is true that for a rookie such as himself to participate, the mayor's permission was required. If Parkon frames it well, he can go around telling everyone that Chansuk is a talent discovered by Parkon. Yes, that is exactly the game. Well, after roping our boy into something of that sort, it looks like the mayor just wants to ride his coattails. The mayor pushes ahead. Thanks to the infrastructure he mentioned earlier, as the mayor of Incheon, he maintains relationships with many overseas and domestic companies. For instance, he taps a box of instant coffee mix packets on the table. The current model for this brand's contract is ending soon, and they could replace her face with Hunter Yu Chansuk's. And that is not all. In the future there is so much more he can offer. Chansuk cuts him off and calls out to the mayor. He rises smoothly from the sofa. It seems, he tells the man, that Parkon takes him for someone cheap. The mayor stammers a pardon. Chansuk gestures at the whole room. Looking at the news these days, it feels like the world could use someone who can change the dreary atmosphere. A new face is needed. Which means that if a talent such as Chansuk continues to work as a hunter, everything that Mayor Park said he could give him is Chansuk's share to take anyway. The mayor scrambles. He offers that he can provide safe and high-paying commissions. He can select them and offer them to Chansuk personally. Our boy tells him flatly that this is a really uninteresting offer. As he turns for the door, he tosses one parting line over his shoulder. Just give his congratulations to the coffee mix model, since she will be able to extend her contract. Outside, the rain has not let up. Chun-suk walks off through the wet street alone, black umbrella overhead, coffee cup left half drunk on the mayor's table. Somewhere else in the city, in a shadowed room, another meeting is taking place. A hooded subordinate stands with his head bowed as the low, quiet answer comes from someone deeper in the dark. So the Gyeodongdo Island test was a failure. The subordinate apologizes. The voice tells him it cannot be helped. The subordinate stammers that there is good news and he holds out his phone. The voice asks what this is. It is a clip from Hunter Yu Chun-suk's Hunter Association certification exam video. On the small screen, sparks of a strange black flame flicker along a spear as Chun-suk trades blows with someone far above his supposed level. The subordinate cannot help himself and breathes out asking what that flame is. Candidate Yu Chun-suk is incredible. The first of every month is the exact moment the whole country looks forward to, because that is when the World Hunter rankings drop. The September 2025 list slides out onto a newsstand, and a young boy tugs on his mother's sleeve and shouts for her to look at this. Two hunters at a bar lean over the same magazine. A narrator's line drifts in that usually there is not much change in the rankings, so the whole thing is merely entertainment for the public. But this time is different. In the Hunter Association headquarters, a suited aide brings a printed copy to the desk of a distinguished older man with a white beard. This is Association President Moon Hun-chul. The aide bows and tells him that here are the September World Hunter rankings. A dark-haired veteran hunter standing nearby with weapons slung over his shoulder asks if that guy is on it too. It was different this time. Somewhere else in Seoul, a sharp-eyed suit sits back in an office chair with phone in hand and mutters that even if they make such a flashy show of it, what matters is the top 10. On the front page of the rankings, the top slots roll out one by one. 10th place goes to Lee Se-eun. 5th place goes to Kim Chae-hun. 3rd place goes to Chae-rum. 2nd is Chung Tae-suk. And 1st place is Mr. Yu Chan-suk. Our boy Hyun-suk, walking around in Chan-suk's body, is sitting in a green room waiting to walk out. A staff member steps in and tells him he has waited a long time and he can go out now. Chan-suk answers with a lazy yup. Another aide grins and says she saw Mr. Yu Chan-suk in the paper. The headline splashes across the screen with the words New Yu Chan. Someone offers congratulations on entering the rankings in record time. A brief line frames the whole moment. A 5-year veteran hunter solo clearing a grade 3 corrosion rift is such a common occurrence that it would practically be ignored in the hunter community. But if it is the first mission of a newly debuted hunter, that is a completely different story. Chan-suk steps out into a wall of flashing cameras and shouted questions. Reporters press forward. What was his occupation before becoming a hunter? Did he really not receive any help from other hunters inside the corrosion rift? Was the escalation of the corrosion rift expected? He mutters inwardly that he feels the same way as a kid on one of those Finding Geniuses TV shows. Our boy tells the room he has a schedule to stick to, so he will take one last question. A reporter near the front pushes ahead. He believes many people are interested in Yu Chan-suk's future steps as a hunter. Regarding this, could Chan-suk share his mindset as a hunter, or perhaps a word of resolution? The young man looks straight into the lens with a flat, cool expression. He tells them to forget cliches such as saying he will do his best. The young man will show it to them with results. The cameras go off in a chaotic burst of flashes. High above Seoul later that day, a helicopter cuts through the air above what used to be a city. This is where Gonsal used to be, someone says. Below stretches a horizon of shattered stone and hollow towers, and the landscape is scoured empty by something that will not come off. Association President Moon Hyun-chul sits across from Chan-suk in the cabin. He remarks that this is a horrific sight, is it not, and that it is the same everywhere abroad. After the corrosion rifts appeared, most countries lost their administrative capabilities. However, South Korea alone became a powerhouse that not only successfully defended the nation, but even made technological advancements. Moon Hyun-chul gestures around them. The helicopter they are riding in is part of that technological prowess. Chan-suk asks if the countries that could not cope with the corrosion rifts ended up in this state. The old man nods. Yes, many capitals disappeared after the corrosion rifts appeared. He asks Chan-suk to take a closer look with him. He turns the tour into a briefing. There is a term in international circles, he says. It is called the Great 80s. These are the 8 most dangerous corrosion rifts in the world. One of them, Gonsal Prison, is right down there. Gonsal Prison suddenly formed 13 years ago and spread outward from the city center in a massive circle. There were no signs or warnings. There were some who barely survived, but in a space that had already turned into a corrosion zone, they were all swept away without even getting a chance to flee. In just a few days, an entire city disappeared without a sound. He adds a colder piece of context. Despite the appearance of corrosion rifts, the influence of each nation's governments has not changed much on the surface, but internally, the power of central governments has weakened everywhere. Chensuk watches the wreckage below and admits to himself that it is nice to learn information he did not know. But what does any of this have to do with the old man calling him here? Moon Hyun-chul gets to the point. A few days ago, Yoon Sung-hyun from Taebaek came to find him. It seems the man was annoyed that Chensuk did not join Taebaek. Chensuk's eyes narrow as memory clicks. Yoon Sung-hyun is that the big guy from back then. The old man tells him he had better think this through properly. Then Yoon Sung-hyun abruptly asked him for Chensuk's whereabouts. Chensuk wants to know what for. Of course, since it is personal information, Moon Hyun-chul did not tell him. But the ideology of the Taebaek Guild is survival of the fittest. They might try to subdue Chensuk by force. Our boy clicks his tongue and mutters that this is troublesome. He admits internally that right now, it would be hard to subdue that guy with brute strength alone. The old man tests the water carefully. Looking at Chensuk's actions rather than belonging to a guild, it seems he wants to do things on his own. Is that right? Chensuk grants him a slow yeah. Well, Moon Hyun-chul nods and lays out his angle. If Chensuk wants to block Taebaek's approach, it is best to raise his own standing. For example, by taking on major missions proposed by the association president. The young man almost smiles. He knew there was a motive after all. He asks flatly whether the old man would just give them to him for free, or is there something the president wants? Moon Hyun-chul answers quietly. The clear fact is that he gave Chensuk help. That is all Chensuk needs to remember. Chensuk mulls it over and tells himself that much is not difficult. It is not a bad deal for him. Since the missions come from the president, they will be good for building his reputation. Our boy asks what exactly he would be doing. Moon Hyun-chul tells him he will be escorting a cargo ship from Busan to Nanjing City. Because of the corrosion zones, transporting daily necessities is not easy. Chensuk skims the manifest and his brow twitches. He sees Rolexes, high-end porcelain, ginseng liquor, pu'er tea, and even a Hyundai luxury sedan. He wonders aloud if the definition of daily necessities has changed in the past 20 years. The old man half smiles at the sarcasm. For some people these are necessities. He adds a quiet aside. By the way, he mentioned 20 years and he thought Chensuk of all people would understand. Chensuk's eyes flick up at that, but he lets it slide. He tells the president that he really does not get it. Why are such things needed in a country where the central government is shattered? Moon Hyun-chul explains it slowly, in the same tone you would use to explain the world to someone who has been away a long time. Although many countries are collapsing due to corrosion rifts, international politics are not meaningless. Little pieces of a global jigsaw click across the old man's mind, and he mentions the flags of China, the United States, Korea, and others. So this is necessary for maintaining certain relationships. They need to grease the wheels, huh? Chensuk stares at the manifest for one more beat, then decides. If that is the case, he will decline this one. The old man's easy smile evaporates. He stammers a wait. The Korean government considers this matter very important. Chensuk tells him flat that even so, he will not change his mind. It would be foolish for an individual to get swept into the center of politics. Moon Hyun-chul's face hardens. He says it might be rude to point this out, but Chensuk is a rookie hunter who has just debuted. It seems excessive attention has become poison to him. That is when our boy stands up inside the helicopter. The old man cries and asks what he is doing. Papers whip out of Moon Hyun-chul's folder as Chensuk slides the door open, and wind roars into the cabin. Chensuk tosses a two-finger salute back over his shoulder. He thanks him for the helicopter ride. He will swim to Seoul on his own. Moon Hyun-chul only manages a strangled what? Chensuk steps out into empty sky. He falls upside down through a shower of loose paperwork, arms folded and hair whipping in the wind. The old man leans out the door and watches him drop with his mouth agape. A distant plume of white spray erupts as our boy hits the water. Moon Hyun-chul mutters into the wind that kids these days. Down at Incheon Port, in the golden light of late afternoon, a fisherman in a floppy hat is casting his line off the dock when a colossal wave crashes into the pier out of nowhere. He staggers and screams and nearly goes over the edge himself. When Chensuk hauls himself up onto the boards soaked from head to toe, the fisherman is red-faced and trembling. He tells the stranger he thought he was going to die and asks who threatened him in that way. Then he softens, taking in Chensuk's state, and adds that he does not know what happened, but Chensuk must have been through a lot. Chensuk gives him a small then bows his head and thanks him quietly. The young man walks the pier alone, wringing water from his shirt and phone already in his other hand. His inner voice sets the next stretch of road. What he needs to do now is build his strength. He will prioritize solving the trickiest, shittiest requests and become a big shot. That way he will not be swayed by anyone else. He scrolls through the mission board with a soft grunt of interest. This one looks good. The screen flashes with the acceptance banner. It reads Mission Accepted. The Association of Kidnapping Victims on Tsushima Island needs the help of hunters. Estimated corrosion rift grade is 2. Our boy sits down on the edge of the pier as the sun sinks toward the horizon and water still dripping off him. He lets out a slow phew. The pace of a slow news broadcast. It is September 3rd. For the jumbo shrimp season, fishermen from Gyeoji Island and Tungyang set out to sea, but the sea was different from usual that day. Something dark and long moved beneath the waves, and corrosion creatures that had nested on Tsushima Island rose up out of the water. They kidnapped the fishermen the same way a predator hunts its prey. According to the words of a survivor who barely escaped, the captured fishermen are still alive and sealed away in the dark somewhere. The mission is stark. Go to Tsushima Island, rescue the captured hostages, and eliminate the corrosion rift. Our boy Hyunsuk is sitting in his studio in Chinsuk's body, phone in hand, reading the mission brief with a bored eye. He mutters that so this is the content of this mission. His eyes flick to the details. Estimated corrosion rift grade is 2. The reward is 55 million won. He notes that the reward is 55 million won. If he handles this alone it will all be his. Then it is definitely not a bad amount. Plus if he succeeds he gets a plausible heroic story and immense fame to boot. It is worth the challenge, but there is a catch. He has heard that corrosion creatures are on a different dimension depending on their grade. If a grade 3 corrosion rift has the destructive power of a tank, then a grade 2 corrosion creature is natural disaster level. And for a grade 1 a whole country has to mobilize for a single corrosion creature. Our boy hunches forward on the couch and holds his head. Grade 3 was no problem since he used Paradox Flame, but grade 2 is a different story. Can he even withstand grade 2 alone? To eliminate variables, he might need someone useful, but the useful guys would not even look at a civilian request such as this one. He mutters to the empty room and wonders whether there really is no one. Then his face changes. There is one option. He runs one name through his head and slowly nods. If it is her, this might work. On the deck of a fishing boat cutting through open sea, someone armored in dark battle gear stands with a great long weapon at her side. A calm voice cuts across the wind and calls out to Yu Chenzuk. The voice asks how long until they reach Tsushima Island. Han Sung-ah is standing tall in a new setup. Her silver-white bob is still cropped short and a sleeveless black top exposes lean midriff, with tan pants and reinforced arm gauntlets snapped into place. Chenzuk checks his phone and answers that maybe about an hour now. Han Sung-ah tells him to replenish his stamina before they arrive. As she said, it is going to be a tougher battle than last time. She adds that she wants to know if he is listening. Then her eyes catch on something. She calls out to Chansuk and points at that thing on his shoulder. Her gaze locks onto a piece of ornate armor riding his shoulder that fits him perfectly. She breathes out that it is Iron Seraph's shoulder gear. Looking at the leather finish added to enhance the aesthetic, it is a limited edition. She asks how he got that. Chansuk gives her a lazy sideways look and asks with a smirk whether she was always this talkative. Our boy tells her flatly that the junk dealer he contracted with this time gave it to him as a gift. Sanga's brows knit and she mutters that the place she contracted with did not give her anything of that sort. Of course Chansuk grins. He tells her that the level of expectation is different. He is a rising prospect who handled a grade 3 corrosion rift solo. She is just a shitty rookie hunter with nothing but the title of Academy valedictorian. Sanga's face flattens and she tells him back that if he feels wronged he should get stronger and become famous. The teasing lands somewhere between friendly and lethal. The narration drifts back a few days. Han Sang-ah is sitting alone in a quiet room, and her phone glows against her face. Chansuk's voice comes through the speaker. He needs a teammate. Sang-ah asks in a low tone whether it is even possible. They almost died in the grade 3 corrosion rift, and now he wants to hit a grade 2. She goes quiet, uncertain. Chansuk's next line lands with real weight. He asks if she does not want to become stronger. Her eye widens against her will. His voice keeps going in a calm, knowing tone. Since she is stronger than him, she could learn from him. That is what she said back then. Now he flips it. If he teaches her, she can become several times stronger than she is now. If she still thinks the grade 3 fight was rough, then he guarantees it. The moment lands hard on her face in that dim room. It seems to ask her what she will do, and her answer wells up from somewhere old and private. She has a reason why she must become stronger. If only to become stronger, she would jump into hell itself. The narration snaps back to the present sea. A shrill alarm blooms across a control board on the bridge. There is a warning about an unidentified object confirmed ahead. Someone up in the bridge peers out and mutters that it is a ship. Another voice reports that there are 5 ships in total. The captured fishermen must be aboard one of them, or their captors are running the whole convoy. The young man scans the water and turns to Sang-ah. There are civilians on those ships, he notes, so they have to go secretly. He asks Han Sang-ah with mock innocence whether she has a good way to sneak them close. Sang-ah blinks and says, "Huh." Do not tell him she cannot do that. She goes quiet with hair swaying in the sea wind, and eventually says a slow "so." Chan-suk's grin blooms full across his face. Our boy tells her that so there is something she cannot do. This is really easy. He crows out and laughs about how she cannot do it. The next moment he is charging across the surface of the water itself with Han Sang-ah half flung across his back, and spray kicks up in wide arcs behind his boots. Sang-ah clings on and yelps for him to be careful and complains that he is splashing everywhere. The guy admits without slowing that he cannot run on water yet, you know. Our boy may be able to skim it with his mana, but he cannot glide cleanly the same as the pros yet. The 5 ships loom closer through the mist. Chan-suk slows and gives orders. He tells Han Sang-ah to handle the nearest ship. She asks why. He tells her that he feels mana. The ships in the back are emitting stronger energy the further out they sit, so those are the dangerous ones. Han Sang-ah launches off her shoulder and vaults up onto the deck of the farthest ship. She jerks around at the impact and murmurs that a human is here. Chan-suk's eyes narrow and his voice comes cold. He tells them no, and to open their eyes properly and look again. A hunched shape rears up under a tattered cloak with jaws stretched wide and too many teeth, and lets out a wet shriek. Those are not human movements, our boy notes in his head as his spear comes up. Sang-ah lands hard on her own ship somewhere behind him. Chan-suk's voice crackles over his shoulder in a warning. He tells her that if she lands in that way she will blow out her knees. Besides, she will attract unwanted attention. The rows of tattered figures on both decks stir with faces rotted and mouths gaping. Undead corrosion creatures pour out of every hatch. Chan-suk's spear whips through the air and cuts the first monster in half at the waist. Blue mana charge strikes trace after each swing. He judges as he moves that they are not high level. It is the lowest tier of grade 2 roughly. In that case Han Sang-ah should be fine. His head snaps toward her ship. On her deck, Sang-ah is already unleashing a full-power lightning arc with her katana ringing with white-blue electricity, and tears 3 monsters apart in a single crackling burst. Chan-suk's eyes widen. He mutters that this is Han Sang-ah's full power. Then his voice sharpens into a bark. He calls out to Han Sang-ah. She freezes mid-stance. He shouts across the water that she is using too much mana. At this rate she will run out in no time. For this level a much lower output is enough. Sang-ah grits her teeth. His words from a few days ago run back through her head unbidden. He said Han Sang-ah can become several times stronger than she is now, and this is if he teaches her. Our boy calls her name again across the deck. She snarls a damn it and forces the lightning around her blade down, cutting the current on the fly. But another wave of monsters comes at her before she can finish, and her power flares back up on instinct. Chan-suk yells again that this is still too much. He tells her to reduce it more. Something older than this moment stirs behind her eyes. A memory rises up out of the dark. The life of the weak is a tragedy, a young voice says from somewhere beneath the present. It is infinitely cold and endlessly dark. A small girl with silver hair stands alone in the dark, silent, her face streaked with something that could be tears or rain. Her small voice comes clear. She must become stronger. Back on the deck of the ship in the churning present, another monster leaps at her from behind. Chan-suk's voice cracks across the deck. He shouts a warning about what is in front of her, and calls out Han Sang-ah. His spear lances through the beast's skull before it can land. Sang-ah's chest heaves once, and the old words from the little girl inside her rise up to meet the coaching from the man in front of her. She has a reason why she must become stronger. If only to become stronger, she would go anywhere. The last of the corrosion creatures on the boats crumbling to ash. Their skull-headed shapes twitch and go still, and Han Sang-ah lowers her katana on her deck with chest heaving. Somewhere behind her a heavier thud lands. She turns and calls out to ask if it is over. Our boy Hinsuk, in Chan-suk's body, vaults across the gap between hulls with a lazy little hop and lands beside her with thumb up. He tells her he took care of all the other boats too. Han Sang-ah lets out a slow breath and admits quietly that it was not a situation where she could afford to be stubborn. She thanks him for the advice. She learned a lot. Chan-suk waves it off. He tells her not to mention it with a shrug. The world is full of idiots who could not learn even if he spoon-fed them. Her eyes flick up at that and then they soften. Actually, she tells him this is the first time anyone has ever given her advice. Chan-suk blinks at her sideways. He asks what she means. The academy is a place for learning. Did her seniors or her peers not help her out? Sang-ah looks off at the horizon and answers with a flat kind of honesty. Since she learned everything quickly, everyone just said it was annoying. Chan-suk watches her for a beat. Then he asks with a small smirk whether she is not worried that if he keeps giving her advice, she might eventually become stronger than him. Han Sang-a's electric blue eye flicks up at him, cool and calm, and she answers without blinking. There is not a single teacher she has not surpassed. Our boy's face goes stiff. He mutters inwardly with a flat expression that is not gonna happen with him, so she should not worry. He will make sure she is looking up to him for the rest of her life. Then out loud he tells her flatly that hearing that answer really pisses him off. Back at GOG Island, two liaison hunters stand on a windswept dock and salute across the water. They call out that they will remain on standby at GOG Island, and they wish the pair good luck. Chan-suk answers with an easy wave and tells them to keep up the good work. Once they hit the shore of Tsushima itself, Chan-suk pulls up his phone and starts laying out the plan. According to the survivor, the hostages are at the shrine. Sung-ah nods and provides the local detail. There are two shrines on this island. They are Gaijin Shrine and Atazumi Shrine. Distance-wise, Gaijin Shrine should be their first stop. Chan-suk agrees. They could run there in a couple of hours. The problem is on his mind. They are going there in the light of day, but the trip back will be a different story. According to the report, there are 15 hostages. It will be even harder to get back if they are wounded. Plus, he can already feel a sinister mana beyond the fog that stings and feels the same way as skin tearing. The corrosion creatures all over the island will be chasing them relentlessly. To avoid the creatures attacking them during the rescue, and to return safely with the hostages, they need one thing above all. They need a vehicle. Our boy turns to his teammate with a hopeful look and asks Han Sang-ah if she is a good driver. Han Sang-ah's answer is instant and confident. She tells him of course and asks why. 10 seconds later, a battered white van is careening down a dirt road at 3 times the speed anyone should reasonably drive it. Our boy is folded in the passenger seat with pen clamped between his teeth, and his hair is whipped sideways. He roars that good my ass and asks if the brakes are just for decoration. Sang-ah does not take her eyes off the road as she yells back that if he does not like it then he can drive. Chan-suk goes very small in his seat and mutters that he will forget it. Inside her own head, Sang-ah admits with grim honesty that reckless driving is still better than her license that has been gathering dust for 20 years. Besides, she says out loud, she is much better at fighting anyway. That is when the road ahead fills up with tattered running shapes. The van plows straight into a wave of corrosion creatures at full throttle. Chan-suk leans out the passenger window with his spear already in hand, and the blade snakes out in blue-edged arcs, cleaving 3 heads from 3 shoulders in one flowing pass. Our boy pulls back into the cab, gives the door a satisfied thump and mutters that it is sturdy. Then his head snaps around. He warns Han Sang-ah that there are incoming from the left. She yells back to leave it to her, and unleashes a wide horizontal lightning slash straight through the open driver's side window. Chan-suk's eyes go wide and he tries to warn her about what will happen if she does that. A concussive crack rips through the air. The blast tears the whole left flank of the road apart, and the guy is airborne before he knows what happened, spinning through the air out of the passenger door. Han Sang-ah cackles as he tumbles and crows out for her to enjoy rolling on the pavement. Our boy lands rough on the dirt, sits up and mutters that maybe he should have driven instead. They tear on through the hills with the monster horde thundering after them in a black wave. The white van skids up the long stone path leading to the shrine gate. Our boy shouts back asking what about the monsters behind them. Sang-ah's face hardens. She will handle them. She answers all right and slams the van to a stop at the shrine steps. Our boy plants himself at the bottom of the stone staircase as the horde crests the ridge behind him. His eyes flare with cold light and violet aura begins to lick around his fingers. Since they will not stop chasing them, he mutters, then he might as well use the terrain against them. He lifts one hand toward the stairs. Black-purple fire pours out of his palm and floods the length of the stone staircase, coating every step in flickering dark heat. He thinks it plainly. He just needs to burn away the friction of the stairs. The moment the first monster hits the coated stone, it skids and tumbles backward the same way a body would slip on ice. The whole front rank pitches down the slope in a helpless tangle. Chan-suk turns and sprints up the now slick stairs on the balls of his feet, and lets the momentum carry him. Inside the shrine's dark hall, Han Sang-ah is already moving between huddled shapes. She reaches a wounded man cowering against a pillar and drops to a crouch beside him with katana lowered so he can see her face. She asks him in the softest voice she has used all day if he is okay. The man stares at her with hollow, terrified eyes. He lets out a broken sound. She keeps her voice steady and formal in the manner she was trained. She introduces herself as Hunter Han Sang-ah from the Hunter Association. The man's face crumples. He whispers something that turns into a raw scream. Sang-a's face jerks back and she says startled that this is not the reaction she expected. Then the air behind the shrine turns cold. Something huge steps into the dim light of the doorway. It is a towering armored figure with a horned demonic helmet and layered plate wrapped over its body, and it wields a long naked blade in both hands. It is a samurai-shaped corrosion creature, and it radiates the same sinister mana Chan-suk felt beyond the fog earlier. The samurai raises its blade and cuts down at her in a single overwhelming arc. Chan-suk is already there with his spear crossed against the samurai's blade, catching the full weight of the strike with both arms braced. Violet paradox flame swells around him and his eyes glow with a sharp gold light. His voice comes flat and cold to the woman behind him. He tells her to get the survivors in the car. In the middle of the samurai mid-boss's assault at Gaijin's shrine, our boy Hyunsuk in Chan-suk's body is trading blows with the armored corrosion creature under a rain of shattering stone, and this time he is losing ground. The samurai's blade blurs faster than a normal weapon has any right to, and cuts through Chan-suk's guard again and again. He grits his teeth and takes a heavy shoulder strike that flings him back across the courtyard. He gasps as blood beads at the corner of his mouth. The horned helmet fills his vision as the samurai looms overhead. The samurai's blade drops with a killing shout for him to die. Chan-suk twists at the last instant, but the strike catches him and slams him into the pavement. He coughs blood into the dust. Then the roar of a diesel engine cuts through the noise, and the white van comes tearing around the shrine's outer wall with Hyunsuk at the wheel. Chan-suk drags himself half upright and tells her flat that when they get back she is not to touch the steering wheel. Sung-a's voice snaps back through the window that he should just get in already. The van skids to a stop long enough for him to throw himself into the passenger seat. The young man cranes around and asks about the hostages. Sang-a reports that everyone is on board, and behind her a huddle of terrified fishermen clutch each other in the cargo bay. His eyes narrow. Sang-a snaps at him to watch the front. Skull-faced corrosion creatures come pouring out of the trees with wet screams, and behind them a hulking silhouette rises up again through the mist. It is the samurai. The guy mutters that he guesses the thing is still alive even after getting hit by a car. He turns to Sang-a and asks her to let him borrow her sword. Her head whips around and her eyes go wide. She asks what? Then her face goes red. She wonders if he is crazy. Asking a swordsman for their sword is a huge insult. Our boy's voice drops low and cold. A swordsman's honor, or people's lives. She knows perfectly well which one is more important. Chan-suk pulls a small dark object from a pouch at his hip and slides it onto his hand. He mutters that he didn't think he would have to use this so soon. His eyes shift, and a memory rises up out of the recent past. The story flashes back a few days ago to inside the Gyeodongdo Grade 3 corrosion rift. Chan-suk stood over the wreckage of the core's corpse as a small box materialized in the air. He knelt and cracked the lid open. He said quietly that it was a glove. He turned it over in his fingers. As expected, it was not just an ordinary glove. It was gathering mana from the atmosphere on its own. Judging by its purpose, it was likely just basic equipment, meant to supplement one's own mana. But to Chan-suk it was much more than that. Taking into consideration the maximum mana storage capacity of the glove-type battery, he calculated about 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, he could become strong enough to rival Isian. Back on the road in front of the shrine, the flashback closes and the glove flares to life on his hand. Blue crystal bands along the knuckles ignite with contained light. Our boy settles into a low stance with the borrowed katana, and mana pours out of the glove and into his body faster than he has moved in years. He steps forward once and the world turns to slash lines. His blade cuts through the front rank of corrosion creatures in a single sweep, then a second, then a third. Each strike carries a violet trail of afterimage that keeps cutting after the sword is already moved on. In less than a heartbeat, dozens of monsters are torn apart in overlapping arcs of blue and violet light. Han Sang-ah stares from the driver's seat with breath caught in her throat. She whispers that no way, he suppressed that many of them. Chun-suk flicks blood off the katana and turns back toward the van with gloves still glowing blue. He tells her that now, they head to the port without looking back. The ride carries them forward toward Hatakatsu Port. The van thunders down a coastal highway with hostages jostled in the back and sea glittering to their right. Chun-suk mutters that he thought they just had to get past those guys back at the shrine. Then more skull-faced corrosion creatures come sprinting out of the buildings ahead, hurling themselves at the moving van with wet shrieks. He growls and asks where they keep coming from. Sang-ah calls over her shoulder that the car is at its limit too. They should just get out now and handle it. Chun-suk cuts her off. He tells her to just drive. But at this rate she protests. A creature lands on the hood and hisses through the windshield. Sang-ah's eyes lock forward and she braces for the crash, and then the monster simply stops. Its face slams into empty air the same way a bird might smack against glass. Its body ripples and it slides sideways off the van and tumbles to the pavement. Behind it, the entire horde that was chasing them piles up against nothing at all, and they cannot cross what appears to be an invisible wall. Sangha gapes. She breathes out that the guys who were chasing them at full speed just a moment ago now seem to be blocked by something. Chunsuk's eyes flick down to a symbol glowing softly on the road behind the van. He mutters that it could be because of that. On the pavement sits a delicate golden circle etched with interlocking patterns, and it holds a soft light against the dark. He tells her it is a protective formation geometry. Sangha echoes the name and asks what that is. He explains that simply put, it is a drawing method that repels monsters. She asks where he learned it. The hero gives her a lazy sideways grin, even if he told her she could not learn it. Because he learned it in another world. Inside his own head he adds a smug little note that man, he is good. His skills are getting better and better. Sangha swallows and asks the real question. She wants to know if this geometry can repel any monster. Chansuk's smile fades. He wishes it could, but there is a limit. It does not work on the real ones. The mist ahead parts. The horned samurai steps out onto the road with blade drawn, and this time the pattern on the pavement flickers weakly as it approaches. It walks straight through the formation without slowing. Its voice grinds out with the weight of falling stones as it repeats broken words about sacrifice and about how it must protect something. Sangha's throat tightens. Chansuk's eyes narrow as the surrounding atmosphere goes cold. He mutters that this is the mind's eye. Sangha snaps her head around. She recognizes the term. It means opening your eyes to a new sense beyond the five senses. It is the ability to predict an opponent's attack. Even for skilled masters, it is a difficult technique. She thinks in dread about how a mere corpse can possibly have this. Chansuk climbs out of the van and lays a hand briefly on Sangha's head as he passes. He tells her there is no need to be afraid. Techniques such as mind's eye and whatever else. In reality, they are all just tricks. He tells her to watch closely. He will teach her how to deal with things of that kind. His yellow eye burns as he walks alone toward the samurai. Sangha cries out and asks why he is going alone. Chansuk's voice drifts back over his shoulder in a calm lecturing tone. She should understand what mind's eye really is. He explains that it is just data accumulated through countless combat experiences. It is a kind of acquired reflex created from that, since it reacts unconsciously to things like hostility or fear. Just projecting killing intent makes it end up in that sorry state. Of course, there are not many guys who can do that. Sangha's lips move on their own as she recites the ranked words she was taught at the academy. She names them as mind's eye, heart sword, state of selflessness, union of man and sword, myriad streams return to the origin. She calls these the so-called realms. Chansuk's spear meets the samurai's blade and turns it aside with the fluid ease of someone who has done this 100,000 times. Actually, our boy tells the world they are nothing special. The illusion named enlightenment is terrifying. You get excited by a special name and decide this is enough, and you set a limit for yourself. But what matters on the battlefield does not need a special name. He can assert this, and he has the right to do so, because to escape that trap himself, he paid with countless sacrifices. 20 years in an unforgiving other world sit unspoken behind every word. On the road behind him, Hansanga watches the fight unfold and something inside her cracks open. She thinks with grim humor that this is the type of dude that survived getting rammed by her car. And it is a pity that his ultimate move is merely mind's eye. What did she achieve by herself in this subjugation? While she kept telling herself this was her best, Yu Chansuk far exceeded the strength she had imagined. She cannot do this with a half-hearted mindset anymore. For the sake of her goal. Our boy stands facing Hansanga in the quiet moments after their last mission ends, and she does not let the silence linger. She tells him she wants him to teach her for real. Yu Chansuk reminds her that he already is teaching her, but she cuts him off and insists that advice and demonstrations are no longer enough. She wants his direct guidance. She admits that compared to him she is ridiculously weak, and that is exactly why she needs to hurry. When our boy asks her the reason, she does not hesitate. She tells him she wants to end Club Shaddai with her own hands. The name alone carries weight in this world. Club Shaddai stands among the 8 most dangerous corrosion rifts on the planet, and it is one of the ones people call the Great Eight, and it is famous for swallowing the Himalayas in a single breath. The young man tells her that goal is bigger than necessary. He asks if it is for revenge. She confirms it. It is revenge for her family. Then she says she has no intention of asking him to do it for free. She holds out a business card. Chansuk reads the name printed on it. It is KY Group. She explains that the corporation carries a market capitalization of 297 trillion and it belongs to her family. So she was the daughter of a prominent family after all. She corrects him. The owner is her grandfather, and she has already stepped away from the succession competition. But she warns him honestly that if he makes a name for himself as a hunter, he might still get pulled into that succession battle. Chun-suk tells her she probably did not hand him the card just so he could admire the paper. So what does she want? Her answer is direct. She wants him to make her the best. In return, she will give him elixirs, the kind that never move through general distribution channels. She promises that with the elixirs she can provide, he will finally reach the realm he desires. Inside his own head, our boy nearly laughs. Han Sang-ah would never believe him even if he explained the truth. The realm she is offering to help him reach, he passed it a long time ago. The reason he needs strength has nothing to do with new heights. It is only to return the world to the way it was before. He does not say any of that out loud. What he says instead is that he does not need things that are hard to get. For now, she just needs to get him this. Our boy shows her something on his phone. She looks it over and confirms it will be enough. He tells her it is plenty, then he changes the subject. They need to move the car to the medical center. At the medical facility, the doctor updates them on the survivors. There are 7 patients in total, and considering their nutritional status, it will take at least a week before any real conversation becomes possible. The doctor asks them to let the survivors rest. The hero agrees quietly. Then he turns to Han Sang-ah and tells her to come out. They are starting right away. She freezes, thrown by the sudden pivot. She asks if he means right now. Chun-suk is already walking outside. In the open lot, he lays down the first question. If he swings his spear at full power, does she think she can dodge it? She stammers that it would obviously be difficult and asks why he is even putting something so obvious on the table. The skill gap between them is huge, she starts to say. She does not get to finish. He tells her flatly that yes, she can definitely dodge it. If she pushes her senses to their limit, it is possible. She should dominate every sense and fight inside the realm of consciousness instead of unconsciousness. Then he asks if she is ready to see how well she has learned. Our boy picks up his spear, and before he even finishes the sentence he vanishes from where he stood. Han Sang-ah's eyes fly wide. He disappeared mid-word and she cannot find him. She tells herself she needs the sound first. Han Sang-ah was wrong and too slow. His spear is already past her guard. Senses come first, our boy tells her, and thoughts come second. In real combat there is no time to think. She should accept the senses exactly as they are and move. Senses she has not yet mastered will only deceive her. Chun-suk tells her that is it for theory. Now they move on to practice. The next strikes come without warning. Han Sang-ah barely raises her katana in time and each impact rings across the training ground. A security guard from the compound rushes outside looking for Chun-suk, then freezes in place when he sees the spear crashing into her guard. Han Sang-ah's arms shake and her breath catches. This one she cannot dodge. Then the guard finds his voice and calls out to Mr. Yu Chun-suk. He reports that one of the survivors just woke up and asks him to please come inside. Chun-suk lowers his spear with the calm of someone who was not just fighting. He asks if it is that time already. Since Han Sang-ah has learned to block somewhat well, they will end the first training session here. She stands there gasping with her mind still snagged on the word first. Inside the hospital room, they sit beside the survivor's bed. Chun-suk asks if he is okay. The man says he is. Then cautiously, he tells them he might have been hallucinating. A truck came to the place where he was held captive and people got out of it. Chun-suk leans forward and asks about the people. Han Sang-ah asks whether they were other hostages. The survivor shakes his head. They were far too calm to be captives. On top of that, the monsters showed no hostility toward them at all. If anything, it looked to him that the monsters were helping them. They picked out a few hostages and moved them to the truck. Something cold settles into Chun-suk's face. He mutters that, so this was the reason. It had been strange from the start that there were only 7 hostages. Still, the fortunate thing is that one person managed to escape from that place. The survivor's expression changes. It was not an escape, he tells them. Those people let them go on purpose. Han Sang-ah's head snaps around and asks what. Chun-suk exhales through his nose and mutters that, so this was the case after all. Han Sang-ah repeats his words back to him and asks what he means by after all. He lays it out plainly. It was strange that a mere civilian broke through and escaped a place 2 skilled hunters barely managed to enter. Unless someone had let him go, that man ought to be switching careers to hunter right now. Han Sang-ah puts it together out loud. So coming here was a trap in itself. Her jaw tightens and her voice sharpens with fury. She asks why on earth this happened and how they dared to try this. Han Sang-ah calls it a dirty trick and mocks the sheer audacity. Watching him from across the bed, Han Sang-ah wonders silently what is driving the anger on his face. Is he furious because they underestimated him, or is he furious because they used human lives to set the trap? She does not get an answer. Chansuk simply asks the survivor whether there is anything else he can tell them. The man thinks, then remembers. There was a cat. On the waist of the person who climbed out of the truck, there was a cat mascot. Chansuk's memory locks onto an image at once. It is an airport terminal, and its facade is painted with a cat mascot. Hansanga stares at him, half in disbelief. She asks him how he figured out the airport mascot was a cat so fast. Chansuk gives her a flat look and asks if her smartphone is just for decoration. In his head he adds that she would not know since she is rich, but commoners get hit with a doll bomb the moment they press the internet button on any site. Hansanga fires back and asks if he just came out of a cave somewhere. They move on the lead together. Once they reach the airport terminal, however, the place is completely dead. Chansuk scans the empty concourse and says that let alone people, he cannot even see an ant here. Maybe they should head back to the shrine. Then he stops. He corrects himself and says he found the guy. The figure standing at the edge of the corridor makes even our boy pause for a beat. The man's face is studded with piercings from brow to jaw. Chansuk mutters that the guy's face has so much metal it might as well have been stitched together with a sewing machine. But behind the ridiculous appearance, this one is no ordinary person. He grins at the two of them with the calm of someone who has been waiting all afternoon for the reveal. He greets them by calling them brats. The man introduces himself as Kim Jihyun. He tells Chansuk and Hansanga that he intends to take them alive. They echo the word alive back at him, and Kim only smiles wider. He says it seems that showing them the opponent first would be better. Then he moves. Two hostages hit the ground hard as he flings them straight into the corrosion rift behind him, and Chansuk's face darkens. If they get thrown in that manner, they will not come back out until the core itself is destroyed. The rift answers in the worst way possible. From the fissure a shape drags itself upright, and it is a body that used to belong to a person, and its face is split open in cracks with one eye burning a hot orange. It is a corrosion creature wearing a human skin. Hansanga's breath catches. She whispers that a person has been turned into a corrosion creature. Kim tilts his head at the thing and dismisses it in the same breath. He says that as expected, since the host was weak it turned out to be nothing special. Chansuk stares at the creature and asks Kim flatly if they are planning to do the same to them. Kim shrugs and says well, naturally that is the plan. Sacrificing ordinary people simply had not produced satisfactory corrosion creatures. The pieces click into place for both hunters at the same moment. Hansanga steps forward with her voice cracking. She points at Kim and accuses his people of orchestrating all of this. Chansuk finishes it for her. These guys were never trying to squeeze money out of hostages. They needed the hostages themselves. Kim treats the reveal in the manner of a lecturer being generous with his time. He personally does not care about them, he tells them, but the elder said he should explain it for the sake of the great cause, so they had better listen well. His organization has a name. They call themselves the Descendants of Dangun. They gathered for a single purpose and move only for that purpose. They want to maintain and strengthen the hegemony South Korea currently holds, so no one can ever mess with them. They want to turn this country into a superpower nobody dares question. Kim does not wait for a reply. He launches straight at Chansuk and the fight begins. Kim closes the distance in a single blink and drives a taekwondo strike toward Chansuk's ribs. The young man weaves out of range at the last second, and the kick shears through empty air, cratering the pavement behind him. The hero fires back a dry comment as he skips backward. He thought their country was already enough of a superpower. Kim's face twists. He says it is not enough. They will take this proud nation to heights where no one would even dare to look down on them, and make it an absolute, immutable superpower. Kim spins into a flurry of kicks. Chansuk slips sideways past the first, blocks the second on a forearm, and takes a glancing hit to the shoulder that spins him half a step. Between exchanges, Kim keeps preaching. He reminds him to think about the history of the Korean peninsula. Day after day they were stripped of tributes. At the drop of a hat they bowed their heads, and the result they got from all of that was having their sovereignty stolen. They will return every single humiliation they suffered, without leaving anything behind. Chansuk tracks the footwork as he backs off. The opponent is a taekwondo black belt and unarmed, but he is faster than Chansuk had imagined. He is fast, though not overwhelming. His power stays inside a range Chansuk can handle. For a beat our boy almost concedes the man's logic. If every corrosion rift on the planet vanished tomorrow, Korea's leverage would collapse right along with them. He watches Kim reset his stance and thinks that this means the guy has no real intention of saving the world. He says it out loud. Kim answers without hesitation that of course he does not want to save the world. Countless people's lives are being threatened. Do they not know what needs to be prioritized right now? They are the ones who do not know anything, because his people found a way to control the corrosion rifts. That word hits differently. Chansuk's expression shifts. If what Kim just said is actually true, that changes things. Being able to control corrosion rifts would mean the ordinary crowd would not have to bleed out in this way, and people could go back to stable lives. After hearing that, he tells Kim he feels a bit inclined to cooperate. He asks to what extent they can control the rifts. If it is pretty good, he will even hand Han Sung-ah over. She whips around so hard her hair snaps and yells, "You Chan-suk." Kim's smile thins and he asks why he should tell them anything. Chan-suk presses him on principle. His people have already succeeded in controlling the rifts, Kim insists, and does so just enough. Our boy pounces on the phrase. He asks what just enough means. Then it is not actually complete control. It is the classic scamming tell where the talk sounds impressive, but they never show the goods. Our boy figured a bunch of thugs cosplaying a great cause would not really have that kind of ability. Kim snaps and tells him to shut up. He rockets forward in a single blur, and the strike that follows tears the ground open behind Chan-suk as he twists clear. Chan-suk mutters and wonders if he pushed it a little too far. He had been stalling to replenish some mana, but it cannot be helped now. Inside his head the math comes out ugly. He does not have enough mana left to use the paradox flame. With his current output, a battle of attrition is the best he can do. Kim is already sliding in for the next combination, and then green sparks crackle behind Kim's shoulder. Kim's eyes snap around just in time to catch Han Sang-ah's katana lancing forward, wreathed in a static green glow. The blade catches him across the shoulder before he twists free, and dust explodes outward from the impact. Kim breathes out that he thought she was staying still because she was scared. Looks like she has some courage after all, and she is pretty too. The guy tells her to fall back. She cannot handle him. His eyes drop to the gauntlet on her forearm and he mutters that he saw its remaining charge. Then he asks her the real question. She needs time, right? Han Sang-ah looks down at the gauntlet, then back at him. She asks how much he needs. He tells her 5 minutes. She exhales once hard and answers without pause that she will leave it to her. She twists the gauntlet's setting and the crystal bands along her arm blaze into life. Green electricity surges up her body and pulls her hair upright, and the ground beneath her feet crackles. Chan-suk stares and asks how much of the elixir she refined into it. She could overload. She lifts her chin and tells him this is what emergencies are for. They only have one chance, right? He tells her right, and after 5 minutes he can finish it. Han Sang-ah locks her eyes on Kim and tells him not to lose. Then she launches herself at the pierced man with the speed of a bolt loosed from a rail. Kim laughs as she comes in and tells her to take it easy. Pretty girl, she might kill him by mistake. She does not slow down. Blood beads at the corner of her eye from the pressure of the refined mana burning through her nerves. Her first strike cracks the sky open in a jagged blue arc that carves through the space where Kim was standing. Han Sang-ah wonders if she got him. Kim's voice drifts down from above her. He asks what happened and comments that this was nothing special. He has already snapped himself out of the arc, drifting overhead, but he was never the only threat in the fight. Chan-suk steps out of Han Sang-ah's shadow, with a cyan glow pulsing along his knuckles, and the crystal bands on his glove burn bright. Our boy calls up to Sewing Machine Face and asks if he is ready to die. Kim's expression cracks open. He asks what this is. Chan-suk's mana just spiked from before. There is no way he could gather that much in that time. He wonders if the young man was hiding his true strength. Chan-suk closes his fingers slowly around the katana in his other hand. He asks Kim why he is so surprised. It is the same principle as his piercings. Kim recoils and asks how he knew. Chan-suk cuts him off. Only an idiot would not know. He tilts his chin at the air around them. He points out that Kim should look around. It is full of refined mana. Kim is leaking it all out because he is spamming power he cannot handle, and thanks to that, Chan-suk even recovered his paradox flame. He asks if he should say thank you. Kim shakes his head with the sharp motion of a man rejecting the words. He asks what he is talking about. There is no way a method to absorb wasted mana exists. Chan-suk settles his weight and lifts the katana. Kim does not need to know, because he is going to die today. Then he moves. A single streak of dark blue traces the air where he was standing, and the next thing Kim sees is the world flooded with blue after images. It is the blue trajectory, 16 strikes stacked into a single combo, closing on him from every angle at once. Kim Ji-hyun lies on the pavement where our boy left him, and his own thoughts scramble to catch up with his body. He cannot breathe. It is not just his lungs, because he cannot feel his heartbeat either. Chan-suk's voice drifts down from above, dry and clinical. He notes that Kim is still trying to keep his pride. Chan-suk can see him barely standing on borrowed mana even though every muscle in his body has been burned away. Kim's mouth barely moves as he calls out for his captain to help him. The answer arrives in the form of an arrow. It cracks across the pavement in a single flash of light, and Chan-suk's spear whips up on instinct in time to knock the shaft off course. He mutters and asks what it is this time. The voice that responds is calm and almost bored. The newcomer says that he had intended to crush the wrist at least, but for Chensuk to pull out a spear that fast is proof that Chensuk has good instincts. The young man's eyes lock onto the figure standing at the far end of the corridor. It is a hooded man with a traditional Korean bow drawn in his hands, and one eye is visible beneath the hood and glowing a faint red. Traditional Korean archery in this day and age is a bit much of a concept, our boy thinks. He does not say it out loud. What he does turn over in his head is the read he has just taken on the man's aura. This is the captain. The energy pouring off him is worthy of the title. Chensuk hates to admit it, but this one is at least twice as strong as Elise-san. His skill is probably 3 or 4 times greater than hers. The captain tilts his head under the hood. He tells Chensuk he has some guts, and asks if he does not fear death. The hero wipes blood from the corner of his mouth. If the captain had intended to kill him, he would have already done it. Since he did not, our boy has a favor to ask. He nods toward Kim Ji-hyun, whose body is now wrapped in the black flames of the paradox flame. He asks if the captain is interested in this one. Kim's own voice cuts through the smoke, cracked and thin, and begs to be saved. Chensuk says first, the captain needs to extinguish the flames on Kim Ji-hyun. He will not say it twice. Silence answers him for a heartbeat. Then it clicks in Chensuk's head. Kim Ji-hyun's mana was already gone before he collapsed. The guy in the hood is keeping Kim alive from range with his own mana. Even so, if the arrow the captain just fired had aimed for the head instead of the wrist, Chensuk would be dead by now. But he did not do that, so this is a negotiation. The captain moves. He closes the distance in a single blink and lays a hand across Kim Ji-hyun, and the black flames snuff out in a single instant. The captain exhales. He tells him good job. Then his voice turns colder as he asks if the captain realizes what he has done to Kim Ji-hyun. Since Kim has no muscle strength left, they are going to have to spend his youth in a wheelchair, running a catheter into him and circulating his blood with mana just to keep him breathing. The captain hears him without a flicker and calls him by his name. It is true, the captain admits that he needs to take Chensuk alive, but it does not really matter as long as Chensuk is still breathing. Chensuk's smile turns sharp. He tells the captain to try it. He would rather drop dead from a heart attack than become the captain's puppet. The two men hold each other's eyes for a long beat. Then the captain slowly lowers his bow. He says that until he understands the principles of that flame, he has no other choice. He will withdraw for now, but Chensuk should keep this in mind. When the corrosion rifts first appeared, no one thought they could be controlled. Even so, he succeeded. Someday Chensuk too will be under his control, and this outcome is inevitable. Then the captain turns and vanishes into the wind. The guy lets out a slow breath and mutters that he has gotten tangled up with someone who has a truly nasty temper. Our boy turns to find Han Sang-ah standing behind him. She tells him those guys are after his unique skill. He agrees, though he does not know the reason. Han Sang-ah points out that if that was really the situation, they could have taken her hostage while she was unconscious. They probably know about his background. Chensuk waves it off and wonders whether terrorists really care about that kind of thing. She tells him to think about it carefully and consider what they are doing and what their objectives really are. Would the Korean government dislike it if these people succeeded? They might even be receiving direct support. His face changes. He asks if that means they should not be eliminating this corrosion rift. If descendants of Dangun really have it under control, that would set the whole balance off. Han Sang-ah shrugs and says nobody cares and to just pretend he does not know. Then she admits, quietly, that she is not good at lying. Chensuk tells her he figured as much. Our boy says they can save the aftermath for later. First they need to deal with this. He tells her to wait outside. He is going in alone. Han Sang-ah asks if he is really okay leaving her behind. The young man tells her she does not know what those people have done inside there. He will know once he goes in. She should just rest and recover until he gets back. Our boy crosses the threshold of the Tsushima Grade 2 corrosion rift alone. Inside, the world unfolds into a Chinese-styled pagoda castle draped in moss and shadow, and it hits him almost at once that for a castle of squishy undead, this one is terrifyingly solid. The yin energy in the air pierces his lungs with every breath. He does not need anyone to tell him what is waiting behind the next door. It is the core of the rift itself. He steadies himself and reminds himself that he does not like thinking this way before a battle. But if he lets his guard down even a little, he could die. The door swings open onto a vast dark chamber, and Chensuk's eyes find the center of the room. Standing there, in the middle of a bubbling green glow, is a massive iron cauldron. He mutters at the sight of the cauldron. He asks if this is really the core of a Grade 2 corrosion rift. This is too different from what he expected. Then a hand slaps against the rim of the cauldron from the inside. A voice slides up out of the boiling green liquid, weak and pleading. It begs him to save it and says please. His legs are gone. It hurts so much. Someone in there is still alive. Then a body drags itself out. It is not the person begging for help, but a corpse. Green-skinned, glass-eyed, mouth hanging open, and one arm streaked with a bloody red mark. It hauls itself onto the cauldron's rim and roars at the ceiling. Chansuk's face goes still as the pieces snap into place. So that cauldron was creating the undead. It was using people alive. Our boy demands to know why. The cauldron answers with a chorus of voices. The voices say it is hot in there and beg him to save them and help them. The young man covers one ear on reflex and grimaces at the sound. Then his expression flattens into something colder than anger. He mutters that these are disgusting humans. But the cauldron is not finished with him. Something inside gives a long, slow tug, and another sacrifice is being drawn down into the boil. A voice not quite human hums low across the chamber. It notes that whoever this one is, he differs from the samurais that came before. This energy is unfamiliar, and yet familiar enough. It confirms this is what it wanted. Green fire erupts out of the cauldron and coils upward into a human shape. It becomes a warrior in a pale robe, and long green hair spills down in a flowing sheet, with one visible eye burning cold beneath it, and a katana clasped ready in both hands. The samurai draws his katana and tells our boy to raise his own weapon. He says he shall temper his blade with Chansuk's blood. The young man lifts his sword just in time. Inside his own head, the questions come fast and cold. He asks himself if this is really the core of the Grade 2 corrosion rift. The pressure alone is enough to make every hair on his body stand on end. That hooded captain subdued this monster alive and is controlling it, and Chansuk wonders how in the world he pulled that off. The answer trails him and refuses to shake loose. He tells himself to focus on this one. Not even the captain was on this level, which means there is someone else, someone stronger than the captain, running the show behind all of this. Carelessness in front of this samurai will end him in a single breath. The samurai moves. Chansuk's body reacts before his eyes even finish tracking the strike, and he peels aside by a fraction as the green blade cuts the air where his throat just was. He mutters that this thing is fast. In that half-second gap he takes his own measure. His lifeline is long. The method for dealing with a strong enemy is simple. Before they can grasp his weakness, he must end it in a single strike. The samurai charges again. Emerald light coils along his katana as he arcs it down at Chansuk's shoulder in a full power slash meant to end everything on the spot. Chansuk's sword snaps up on instinct, and steel meets steel with a shock that rings through the pagoda's stone chamber. Sparks scatter through the green haze. The samurai's own voice curls out of his throat about his maximum output. The hero grits his teeth under the weight of the block. He blocked it, he thinks, but what is more surprising than the block itself is the samurai's reaction to it. The samurai did not see the blocking motion at all. By nature, a strike that fast ought to have been unseen. He stares at Chansuk through the crossed blades with the look of a man who is witnessing something impossible. Then he moves faster. His katana flickers a second time, and this cut catches Chansuk on the arm before he can twist away. He chokes and staggers back a step. The samurai could move even faster than that. The samurai's expression cools. He tells Chansuk he has done well at making him bring out his high power. If so, he says, try blocking this one as well. The next strike comes down with the weight of the ceiling itself collapsing. Chansuk gets his blade up and blood sprays from his shoulder as the impact drives him bodily across the chamber into the wall. The young man crashes down in a heap of stone and dust. When he pushes himself back to his feet, black flames are already crawling up his arms and shoulders. He mutters and thinks that he would have to bring out Paradox Flame this early. The problem is uglier than the wound itself. Since the samurai is not a living being, Paradox Flame has no meaning at all as an attack. Our boy curses and asks what he should do. It is a series of surprises. On the far side of the chamber, the samurai stares at him through the green mist with a strange, quiet interest. He wants to know what must be done to make him fall. Then he raises one hand. From that gesture alone, a wall of green blade-shaped energy arcs across the room, and Chansuk's whole body erupts in red gashes as unseen edges shred through him. Blood pours down his front. The strike tore every muscle in his body. For an instant, Chansuk nearly loses consciousness. But for some reason, whether by some fluke of the arc or some accident of geometry, the samurai failed to tear the muscles above Chansuk's shoulders. That is enough. Our boy forces the Paradox Flame down through his own veins to boost his recovery and rapidly heal the shredded muscles beneath his skin. Black fire knits torn fiber back together in seconds. And now he has slipped around the samurai's back before the samurai has even noticed. But it turns out to be too slow. Green light bursts across the chamber as the samurai twists his katana back over his own shoulder in one impossible motion, and Chansuk's downward strike barely grazes the samurai's ribs. A small line of green mist beads and falls where the blade opened him. The guy drops back into a low stance and gasps. His own blade shakes in his hand. The samurai murmurs that to think it missed. He says Chansuk is quite lucky. Chansuk's face twists and he tells him not to give him that crap. The samurai could definitely have killed him. He has been holding back the finishing blow and keeping Chansuk alive this whole fight. The young man asks what the hell the samurai is doing. He wonders if the samurai is toying with our boy out of pity. The samurai pauses. He says quietly that indeed he certainly could have killed Chansuk. But that would be if it were the old him. Chansuk's head snaps up and he asks what he means. Samurai tells him, this one cannot even recall a single name. Most of his memories from life have been lost. The gaps in his technique caused by that memory loss were fatal. Defeated by an unidentified man, he was even fitted with this disgraceful shackle around his neck. And only now, in the green glow between them, does Chansuk notice the iron collar clamped tight against the samurai's throat, with its chains sinking down into the swirl of aura at his feet. The pieces align in Chansuk's mind at once. The body remains, but the experience and memories are mostly gone, so it is the exact opposite situation of his own. That shackle must be what those guys had meant by controlling the rifts. The samurai lowers his katana a fraction. He has lost too much. He has lost his name and the reason he ever took up the sword in the first place. All that remains is resentment steeped in sorrow. Chansuk mutters a curse and asks what now. The samurai's single visible eye holds him across the chamber. He asks if this one's appearance does not seem truly pitiful, and as the words settle, the green flame around him thickens and darkens. The samurai's resentment grows denser by the second even as his technique and experience stay lost. Chansuk reads the terrain of the fight and finds the one thread he can pull. If the samurai cannot kill him in one strike, he has a chance of winning. That is the whole of it. This is not skill against skill. It is not endurance either. He just needs to survive the killing blow and take the opening. To defeat this samurai he has to pour out everything he has left. Dark violet fire begins to boil up from Chansuk's shoulders and out along his arms, and his eyes flare cold silver purple as the aura swells. To defeat him our boy must pour out his full power. The samurai charges again and our boy meets him mid-air with a clash that scatters emerald sparks across the chamber. When they part, Chansuk drops back into a low stance and lets the paradox flame come. Black fire washes over him from head to boots and in the same instant closes every wound on his body and refills his stores of energy to the brim. The samurai watches through the glow with his single visible eye burning steady. He tells Chansuk he possesses a peculiar ability. That black flame seems to be burning something else, not just flesh. Chansuk's mouth twitches into a grin. He tells the samurai he has sharp eyes. This flame burns concepts, and though it may look infinite in destructive power, that is not quite the case right now. Inside his own head he lays the mechanics out for himself, since he no longer has time to be careful. Just as the conceptual magnitude of the fatigue felt by one person differs wildly from the friction of an entire staircase, the greater the quantity and scope of a concept he chooses to burn, the more mana and proficiency it demands from him. And since larger applications are harder to control, he has to guard against the backlash, or the flame will start eating parts of him it should not. When he took down Kim Ji-hun, he had to hold himself carefully in check so the flame would not char away his own muscle strength along with Kim's. If the version of him from another world had been a greatsword, this current version is merely a fruit knife with the same edge on it. He has been using the paradox flame at minimal risk this whole time. He thinks that this is no longer the time to be picky about that. He extends his fingers with black flame curling between them, and his eyes lift back to the samurai. From now on, he tells him, he is going to burn away all of this place's durability. The samurai's brow furrows. He wonders about burning its durability. He does not understand what Chansuk is saying. The hero's grin sharpens. He has done enough explaining for one lifetime already. He will skip it this time. Our boy lunges. The samurai takes the hit clean across the chest and staggers back a step under it, and a laugh escapes him even as blood beads on his lip. The young man wipes the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand and looks the samurai in the eye. He tells him to try to understand while getting hit. Since he has figured out that the samurai has a limit, this actually works out perfectly. He is honestly curious to see just how far the current him can really go. Our boy adds that they should take this elsewhere, and drives his shoulder into the samurai's guard hard enough to throw them both up and out of the chamber. They spill into the sky above the pagoda castle, and the fight opens up into a real duel. Green blade light braids through violet flame as the two of them meet and separate in half a dozen exchanges in seconds, and each pass carves new gashes into the stone rooftops below. Chansuk twists inside the samurai's swing and answers with a flame-wreathed slash of his own. The samurai parries. Their next collision detonates in a sheet of red-gold light that scours the mountainside white. When the glare finally fades, Chansuk is already crashing through a jagged rock formation. He tucks a shoulder just in time to keep his skull intact and skids down the slope in a shower of stone chips. The samurai's cold voice drifts down from above that Chansuk is slashed. Chansuk's shirt opens across the collarbone in a clean red line, and his breath hisses through his teeth as he pushes himself upright. Bolts of pale cyan light lance out of him toward the samurai. The samurai carves them apart with the katana, then answers with a downward slash that shears the whole cliff face away beneath Chansuk's feet. Chansuk twists sideways in midair and grits his teeth as the shockwave rolls past. Above him, for the first time, the samurai's voice comes out unsteady. He asks what this is. He has never encountered this, not even on the battlefields of the past. The young man does not answer. He drops back down with sword raised, and the air behind the samurai fills with a lattice of glowing cyan lines. It is a spider's web of energy that closes on him from every direction at once. The samurai twists inside the trap with katana carving arcs of light against the mesh, but the grid holds him a moment too long. He snarls in fury. Then his eye flares and he tears free with a roar that shudders the rock underfoot. He bursts back out of the cage with green fire pouring off his shoulders, closes the distance on Chansuk in a single blink and catches him by the collar mid-swing. Chansuk's own blade wobbles up too late and the samurai's katana opens him across the ribs. Blood pours down his side. He grunts and drops onto one knee, breathing hard through his teeth. And then for a heartbeat the world thins away. Someone had asked him once what he would do if he met an opponent he absolutely could not defeat. The story pulls him somewhere else now, back years ago to another sky above him and another body around him. The version of him that used to be a great sword sits on a shoulder of rock with a bearded jaw and calm eyes. That old him answers with a hum. He is just curious about how his friend would handle it. A battle against a warrior equal to himself, an opponent he absolutely cannot defeat, someone appearing with power equal to his own. If such a person were to appear. The bearded warrior's mouth curves. He asks, isn't it obvious? Between him and that man, one of them would not be coming out of the fight alive. The memory releases him as fast as it took him. Chansuk's knee lifts off the ground and he plants his sword and rises. Black flame licks down along the blade and pours off his shoulders in slow curls. The samurai is already coming for him again with one glowing eye locked on his throat. The guy watches him come. That one thing at least is certain. As expected, our boy tells the samurai across the closing distance that the samurai is the strongest. The final strike lands and the samurai falls. The young man stands over the collapsing green form with his blade lowered, and he is breathing slow and steady. When the last of the emerald aura dissolves, a small chest floats into the air where the body used to be and cracks itself open with a soft chime. Our boy notes to himself that this is his reward. He is so glad that its appearance matches what he saw in the other world. Our boy reaches in and closes his fingers around the item inside. It is a short gold-hilted blade barely longer than his forearm. He mutters that this is a spear, then squints at it. It seems too short for that. Then he pauses. The young man tells himself not to jump ahead. He flicks the handle sideways and the shaft rockets out to full length in one whip crack of light. Looks like its length can be extended using mana. This will be useful. Our boy tucks the new weapon down and starts back toward the exit. He thinks that rewards drop based on the number of people who entered the corrosion rift. The young man should have just brought Hansong-un in here and kept her safely tucked away somewhere just to collect her share. As he walks, he checks the sword he pulled off the samurai's collapsed form, and the katana still hangs together, well oiled and balanced. Hansong-un's own sword might still be in one piece too. Night has fully settled by the time he crosses back to where he left her. Hansong-un is sitting under a blanket at the edge of the wreckage and staring off toward the moon. She hears his footsteps and her head snaps up. Her eyes land on the katana at his hip and go slightly wider. Hansong-un notes that this is a sword she has not seen before. He tells her he found it on his way back. Judging by the guy who was wielding it, she says, it is a fine blade. It really is a great sword, and it is well maintained. She should take it. Her breath catches for a beat. Then she nods and murmurs a quiet thank you. Only after she has accepted the weapon does it occur to her to ask where in the world he could have found a sword of this quality out here. Hansong-un hopes he did not pull it out of the corrosion rift. She asks if he is okay. Chansuk waves it off and tells her to forget it. She got enough rest while he was gone. Right now, he tells her, he is going to get some rest himself. Then his knees buckle and he pitches forward straight onto her lap. Hansong-un stares down at the top of his head. He fainted. Hansong-un guesses our boy does that same thing too. Word of the fight travels fast. There is an insurmountable wall between a grade 3 rift and a grade 2 rift, so when the news of Yu Chun-suk's solo clear of a grade 2 becomes public, the weight of the achievement lands on a completely different level. Strangers on the street trade the story back and forth. They ask each other if they heard the news, and marvel that a rookie hunter solo cleared a grade 2 corrosion rift. That makes no sense, since even capable hunter duos said it was hard to do alone. They wonder who that guy is anyway. On the same street, our boy walks past with his hood up and his phone in his hand, and he stares down at endless notifications. He cannot even check any of the important messages coming in, and he definitely cannot walk around outside as a normal person anymore. The next day he sits waiting in a hotel lounge. A woman crosses the floor toward him with long purple hair pulled into a low braid, thin-framed glasses, and a sharp formal outfit. She introduces herself with a small polite smile. She greets him and says her name is Ja Soo-jung from the Secretariat of Embargo Tower. She thanks him for covering her hospital bills, though she admits she was surprised because she had never heard the name Embargo Tower before. Not many people have, she says. They are not very well known to the general public, mainly because their primary field is ICT. If he experiences any discomfort during his stay, she will handle it herself. Chun-suk tilts his head. Our boy is not uncomfortable, but he is curious about something. The treatment and hospital room fees do not look cheap, so there must be something she wants from him. Her smile widens. Ja Soo-jung tells him they should not waste any time and should get straight to the point. She asks him if he likes cake. Over dessert she lays out the picture. It is a shield generator. It is a device that creates a barrier to defend against corrosion creatures. Our boy summarizes that they need someone to transport a shield generation device that utilizes mana, and she wants to entrust that job to him. She confirms that is right. It is only a prototype made in the US so far, but over time, if it can be mass-produced, it will bring some relief to areas that hunters cannot reach. This is a crucial mission that could change the fate of humanity. The hero raises his brows and comments that this must be a pretty large-scale request. She confirms it. They are currently checking whether other hunters are willing to cooperate as well. Ja Soo-jung adds that Janabi has agreed to assist this time. So even Janabi is on board, and that means this is a much bigger deal than he initially thought. She walks him through the route on a map. The shield generator will be transported by train, departing from Vladivostok. Once it arrives in the Netherlands, it will be flown by helicopter to Dover in the UK for a live test. He asks her why they need to send it all the way to the UK. Ja Soo-jung tells him that Ristorante is one of the Great 8 and it is located in Naples, Italy. Its influence reaches everywhere from Europe to North Africa. The only somewhat safe place left on the continent is the UK, since the sea provides some protection. Europe itself is currently in a state of anarchy. Governments have failed to function properly, and hunter companies have seized whole regions and turned into local warlords. Because of that, they will also be carrying relief supplies for international organizations along the same route. The guy fills in the rest for her. He says she must mean that there will be a considerable number of people targeting the train. Ja Soo-jung confirms that is right. She asks whether Mr. Yu Chun-suk has any experience traveling abroad. Our boy tells her this will be his first time in Europe. Ja Soo-jung nods slowly. They will likely encounter a lot of horrific things there. Chun-suk catches the word she used and asks about the word we. She confirms it. For this mission, data collection and analysis are being overseen by Embargo Tower, so personnel will be dispatched, and it looks like she will be one of them. It is nice, she adds, to have another familiar face around. Our boy notes silently that she is speaking in the manner of a person who assumes his participation is already a given. He gives her his own condition instead. He would like Hunter Han Sang-ah to accompany them. Ja Soo-jung pauses to confirm that this is the one who went with him to Tsushima Island. He nods. He made a promise to her, and she is a trustworthy friend. Our boy lets a small laugh out. A hunter trusted by Mr. Yu Chun-suk is someone they should be the ones asking her to join them. Then he bows his head slightly. He looks forward to working with her. Chun-suk reflects as they part that he will be able to expand his influence much faster than he had thought. The helicopter arrives that afternoon with blades hammering the air over the rooftop. Our boy is impressed that they mobilized a helicopter just to pick him up for a civilian mission. Soloing a grade 2 corrosion rift really is different from a grade 3, isn't it? An old bald man with a cane steps forward beside her, and Chun-suk addresses him as the chairman. The chairman answers that of course it is different. It was the moment his expectations turned into certainty. The association will also do its best to guarantee Chun-suk's activities to the fullest. Chun-suk tells him that is good to hear. Inside his head he adds that proving his skills makes things run much smoother. Then, watching the chairman lean on his cane, another thought crawls in. Does the chairman know about them? If he does, how would he react? Would he want this wretched reality that has fallen on Earth to end someday, or would he want it to be maintained? The young man climbs into the helicopter and freezes for half a second. Sitting inside with her arms crossed is a familiar face. It is Hunter Lee Seun. She tells him it has been a while. Rumors about him have spread all the way to Chairwon, she says. Chen Suk gives her a tired smile. At this point it would be hard to find someone who does not know about him. As the helicopter lifts off, he asks where they are heading. She tells him they are going to an army base. He echoes the word military and asks why they are going there. Because the South Korean military is also planning to participate in this request from Embargo Tower. She adds more thoughtfully that when it comes to a shield generator, finding a country that would not be interested would be rarer. If it succeeds, national reliance on hunters for defense would decrease. However, from South Korea's own perspective, she does not think they would like that very much. Then she asks him whether he happens to know of an organization called the Descendants of Dangun. Chan-suk tells her that if she means that ultra-nationalist terrorist group, yes, he knows them. Honestly, he is more surprised that she knows about them. He ran into them himself while handling the mission on Tsushima Island. Lee Seun tells him the Descendants of Dangun, composed entirely of Koreans, have been showing up all over the place. When hunters are in the middle of clearing a corrosion rift, their specialty is suddenly popping up and interfering. Chen-suk admits he can fully understand the gist of what they are trying to say, and it is not that he cannot see why they think that way. Lee Seun says she got it. Then she reaches into her coat and holds something out to him. It is pumpkin taffy. Chen-suk blinks at the little wrapper between her fingers and asks why she is giving him this. Lee Seun ignores the question and asks her own. She asks Yu Chen-suk if he has never been to another country before. Our boy remembers Ja Soo-jung asking him the exact same thing and wonders why everyone keeps asking about his overseas experience. He tells her this is his first time traveling this far. Lee-seon murmurs right, then he can still think about the world in that way for now. She looks out the window as the city drifts past below them. This mission, she says quietly, is probably going to make him realize a bunch of things. The lights come up in the briefing room and someone from the head of the table calls for the meeting to begin. Chan-suk flips open the printed materials in his lap, while Ja Soo-jung at the podium asks everyone to follow along. Then the military man at the far end of the room clears his throat and introduces himself. He is Major General On Hun-seo, and he will now brief them on the operation. The train they are responsible for is the 80-car mile train. 65 of those cars will be used for cargo and other purposes. The remaining 15 cars will be reserved for the hunters participating in the mission, so as to ensure adequate resting conditions for the South Korean military. Chan-suk's eyes catch on a line further down the diagram and our boy mutters to himself. Lee Seun gets a whole car to herself. As expected of the 10th ranked hunter, the treatment is different. The Major General adds one more note. Embargo Tower has delegated the protection of the shield generator car to a small group of hunters, including Genevieve. However, considering the long itinerary and expected fatigue, he suggests having other personnel, including the South Korean military, share the burden of protecting it. Lee Seun clears her throat sharply from the podium and says no. She replies that the fact that Jeonnabi is responsible for the shield generator means that there are many forces targeting it. He should not be unaware of that. Therefore, no one except Jeonnabi is allowed to approach the generator. She tells him to move on. The Major General wipes his brow and asks the room to please do just that. He clicks to the route map. They will pass through many corrosion zones, but there are 7 specific locations where the rifts are close enough to pose a significant threat. On top of that, bandits roaming the Siberian region could also pose a threat. Lee Seun raises an eyebrow at the mention of train robbers. She jokes that they must be shooting a Western movie in the 21st century. The Major General continues without smiling. They sent official letters to 8 of the warlords established in Europe, and only 3 have given them a proper response. Chan-suk reads between the lines out loud. He says that means the other 5 are enemies. An uneasy murmur rolls through the room. Just how many enemies do they have to face during a mission that lasts over 2 weeks? Corrosion creatures, bandits, and even warlords. Can this even succeed? No, they have to consider it impossible. Lee Seun stands from her seat and folds her hands in front of her. She tells them not to worry. No matter what happens, she says, she will ensure the train arrives safely. Operation D-Day arrives at Vladivostok Station in Russia. Cold wind pushes down the platforms and the long steel body of the mile train stretches out into the fog. An announcer's voice calls second-class passengers to their appropriate cars and asks them to please board promptly. The young man walks alone toward the first-class end of the train, with sword slung across his back and hood pulled up against the cold. It is quite a walk to the first-class cars. He grumbles at Lee Seun internally that this train is over 1 kilometer long. A familiar voice cuts in behind him and asks if he forgot their promise. You Chansuk. Chansuk turns and greets Han Sung-a, and notes that she is here early. Han Sung-a stands there in a dark cloak with a thick fur collar, and the samurai's katana is strapped at her hip. She tells him she will hand over the promised elixirs right after this mission. Ua Boy asks her where she was. He did not see her anywhere in the crowd. Han Sang-a tells him she took a luxury car in first class, so of course he did not see her. She flatly says, is that so? That must be why she did not see Hunter Lee Seon anywhere either. Han Sung-a wants him to just look at that special treatment. She adds under her breath that this is the difference between a decent hunter and a world-class one. Seeing it in person, the presence is truly overwhelming. Then Ja Soo-jung glides up beside them and Chan-suk greets her. Ja Soo-jung tells him he arrived early. She asks if he has taken a look around the train yet. The young man tells her he only just got here himself. Anyway, it seems Embargo Tower put a lot of effort into this. Ja Soo-jung walks him toward one of the middle cars. Its walls are thick, matte-plated and dead black under the platform lights. She tells him this is literal ironclad security. The hero tilts his head and wonders if it is actually more dangerous, though because it stands out so much. She shakes her head. It might be conspicuous, but it is made of depleted uranium, the same material used in armored vehicles, so it is safer. He nods slowly and says he sees. Well, Lee Seon is also participating in this mission, so unless something goes terribly wrong, they should not fail. Then something goes wrong. A frantic voice explodes over the internal radio less than 10 minutes after the train pulls out of Vladivostok. Someone is requesting backup and asks anyone available to head to car 57. The guy's head snaps up and says he is going. Then he is running down the corridor with cloak snapping behind him. Our boy curses at the fact that corrosion creatures already showed up less than 10 minutes after departure. On the roof he finds a swarm of flying red-eyed monsters pouring in from the tree line, and he cuts down the first 3 in a single arc without breaking stride. He keeps killing them, but there is no end. This would be so much easier if Lee Seon were here. The Trans-Siberian Railway itself is damaged, and for the train to run at all, the operation and the railway repairs must be done at the same time. However, the personnel repairing the railway cannot fight off the corrosion creatures on their own. Therefore, a hunter must stick close to them to protect them. And of all people, Lee Seon was assigned that role, tying up their top fighter in one place, unable to use her full power. Our boy grits his teeth as he cleaves another monster in half. If he were the commander, he would have blown off the head of whoever came up with this so-called plan. He curses again. The swarm keeps coming. Chan-suk stands on the roof of a rocking car with the extending blade in one hand and another sword in the other. 2 shadowed figures fight alongside him further down the train, and countless red eyes still boil up out of the snowfields. It is going to be a long day. Meanwhile, 1,000 kilometers to the north, in Khabarovsk, Russia, blood streaks up a snowbank. A massive scaled shark thing thrashes on its side with one long claw of a fin still twitching. Standing over it in a battered set of black plate armor is a bald man with 2 glowing gold-orange eyes and jagged scars branching across his skull. He mutters something in Russian under his breath about the beast finally shutting up. A figure walks slowly through the snow toward him. He has long hair pulled up in a loose topknot, and a traditional Korean-style robe with a red sash, and a calm smile with eyes closed in the peaceful expression of a man who is enjoying the cold. It has been a while. Lee Hyun's smile widens by a fraction. He tells the bald man he came here to request a job, but he gets an entertaining show as soon as he arrives. He greets him as ruler of Khabarovsk, Nikolai Baranov. Nikolai spits into the snow and curses in frustration. He caught the thing for dinner, but it woke up after he went through the trouble of knocking it out. Lee Hyun tells him to wipe the blood off first, then asks curiously if they really eat things of this sort for food in Russia. Nikolai's mouth twists into a snarl. He says those Korean bastards have so much to eat and no wonder they lack manners. Anyway, he asks what the job Lee Hyun wants to give him is. Nikolai reminds him he has no need for money. Lee Hyun nods. He is well aware. Nikolai will definitely find this one interesting. Lee Hyun tells him a train departing from Vladivostok will be passing by here. In the next few days, maybe even in a day or 2. Nikolai scoffs and calls it a terrible joke. The Trans-Siberian Railway was destroyed ages ago. Lee Hyun shakes his head calmly. Among those who have awakened mana patterns, there are some who can quickly repair broken things as long as they have materials on hand. Nikolai's brow furrows and he mutters that it is running while being repaired. He asks what they are moving on it. Lee Hyun replies that this is not important to ruler Nikolai. What matters is who is moving it. Nikolai leans in and asks who is moving it. Lee Hyun lets the answer hang for a beat. He tells him it is Janabe's candy lady. His one visible eye flares wide. Lee Hyun adds that if Nikolai knows who is coming, then of course he has already thought of a way to deal with them, right? Nikolai answers naturally, and a grin creeps across his scarred face. He says robbing a train protected by Lee Seun sounds like fun. Lee Hyun corrects him softly. Strictly speaking, it is not a robbery. Janabi's mission is to protect a specific car on that train. Nikolai says then he just has to blow it up. Lee Hyun answers evenly that no, he is not asking Nikolai to blow it up. Under his breath, in a tone the Russian is not meant to catch, Lee Hyun murmurs the phrase that gives him away when he calls Nikolai subhuman filth. Then he holds out a small black terminal in one gloved hand. He tells Nikolai to breach that train car and connect this terminal to the equipment stored inside. Nikolai asks if once he finishes what Lee Hyun asked, it is okay if he smashes the cargo afterward. Lee Hyun replies yes, he would actually be more grateful if Nikolai did. Nikolai's grin splits wide open. He tells him that is good, and accepts the job. He says he will not only smash the cargo, but he will kill all the remaining hunters right in front of Lee Seun's eyes. He is going to slaughter them all. The trans-Siberian snow is still steaming with fresh corrosion blood when our boy plants his spear tip into the frost and takes a slow breath. Around him the creatures that only moments ago swarmed the train tracks lie in shredded heaps, and the fellow hunters watching from the far side of the cars cannot process what they are seeing. One of them mutters that this is unbelievable and that the guy is supposed to be a rookie who only recently became a hunter, and he has already slaughtered nearly 100 of them by himself. A third finally exhales and says it looks like things are mostly cleared up now. The young man turns back toward the train. The Janabi hunters are scattered along the flanks, some slumped in the snow, some clutching wounds, and all of them clearly worn out only a fraction of the way into the mission. Anyway, he thinks to himself, the mission has barely begun and they are already this battered, so they are going to be no help at all. He raises his voice and tells everyone that they need to get up, that the mission is not over yet, and that none of them can afford to let their guard down. Somewhere behind him a fellow Janabi hunter mutters under her breath that he is such a show-off and adds that as expected, Han Sang-ga is the only useful one on this whole train. Our boy tilts his head at the comment with a small curious question crossing his face, but he lets it go. His attention has already snapped back to something else, and it is a low rumble building along the ridgeline above them. He asks aloud what that noise is, and wonders if there is an avalanche somewhere. Through the shared radio channel, the control room reports in a flat voice that an obstacle has been detected, but they will proceed with normal operations. Lee Seun cuts them off. Her voice comes back calm and sharp as she relays to the control room to stop the train immediately. She tells them this is the enemy. The rumble breaks apart in an instant. A red glowing blade arcs down from the ridge in a devastating slash, and a shockwave rips across the snow. Metal shrieks against the side of the rear cars. Hunters scatter for cover with people shouting and asking who those attackers are and when they even got here. Chan-suk tells them to calm down. He asks whether any of them actually read the briefing, because there is only one person capable of pulling something of that scale near Khabarovsk. This is the armed gang led by Nikolai. Lee Seun is halfway through a step to countercharge when a fan of talisman cards spins through the air toward her from an unseen direction. Blades of purple lightning burst up from the snow beneath her boots, and a hexagonal barrier locks around her body in mid-motion and freezes her mid-swing. Han Sang-a's eyes narrow immediately, and he calls her name to ask if something is wrong. Lee Seun's eyes flick down at the glowing pattern around her feet, and her voice comes out low. She says it seems that she has been sealed. Our boy does not hesitate. He turns to face the entire hunter contingent and speaks in the flat command voice that he has not used in this world before now. He tells them to pay attention and warns them that they are under enemy attack from the flank of the train, and Commander Lee Seun is currently unable to engage in combat. The hunters stare at him, and one of them manages a stunned what? He continues that the estimated enemy count is 500. That is roughly 10 times their current fighting force. Although their commander is absent, retreating is not an option. He tells them to protect the train and to hunt. Our boy turns on his heel and calls for Han Sang-ga to follow him. Before anyone can respond, he simply steps off the edge of the embankment and drops down into the swirling snow toward the enemy line. Han Sang-ga stammers a startled acknowledgement and vanishes right after him. The rest of the Janabi hunters watch with jaws open, and one of them shouts that the crazy bastard just jumped down there and it is 50 against 500. Someone curses, then decides fine, they are doing this because they cannot just send the rookies out alone. Behind them all, sealed and steady, Lee Seun promises she will return to the front lines as quickly as she can. A soft, polite voice answers her from behind that this will not be easy. Lee Seun turns and finds a slender man standing there in the falling snow. He wears pale traditional robes with a red sash at the waist, his hair is pulled up into a loose topknot, and his eyes are closed in a gentle smile. Lee Seon asks flatly whether this seal is his doing. He inclines his head and introduces himself as Lee Haeun, of the descendants of Dangun. He adds pleasantly that Miss Lee Seon is from the Prince Yangyang branch of the Yi family tree, and so is he. Come to think of it, that would make him her 10th cousin. He asks if it is not a joyous occasion to meet family in a foreign land. Lee Seon's jaw tightens hard at the family reveal. She swings for him with everything she has and steel cracks through the air, but her great sword shatters against the empowered barrier and fragments of the blade spin off into the snow. Her mouth parts in a quiet remark that it broke. Lee Haeun's smile does not change. He tells her that this is not a seal that breaks so easily, and that now that she is out of weapons it would be easier for her to simply surrender. Lee Seon's voice is dry as she asks why he is making such a fuss over one broken sword. Lee Haeun's eyes crack open for the first time, and his composed face slips into a small tic. A pale cyan ring on Lee Seon's finger flares with light, and a shimmering copy of her greatsword materializes and drops back into her palm in a single instant. He murmurs that he did not expect her to bring that. Lee Seon turns the fresh blade over once and asks whether he knows exactly what this is. It is the mirror ring, obtained after she cleared a grade 1 corrosion rift. The ring registers exactly one piece of equipment. The moment that item breaks, it is instantly duplicated and returned to its owner's hand. Lee Haeun's polite mask hardens back into place, and he sighs that she is really quite ignorant if she plans to keep trying until the seal breaks. Lee Seon's expression finally sharpens with something close to amusement. She echoes him with an "oh my," and asks if she is ignorant. She adds that with a mouth of that sort, he will not be popular with the ladies. Then she snaps forward with greatsword arcing in a single brutal cut. The strike lands clean across his guard, and blood sprays across the falling snow. Down at the enemy line, the sky itself seems to split open. A massive armored figure descends through the snow on unseen thrust, and the front ranks of Nikolai's gang roar behind him. Nikolai's voice booms out in Korean, asking whether they really think they can stand against his forces with just those pathetic numbers. Nikolai decides who makes it out of here alive, he tells them. He gives them the option to drop their weapons and surrender, and he might just spare their lives. Our boy tilts his head and studies the descending figure with cool interest. He asks Han Sanga quietly if that is Nikolai. Then he adds, half to himself, that it is fascinating, because even though the man is clearly flying, he cannot feel a drop of mana coming off him at all. Han Sanga answers that the armor is a product of the Predator project from about 10 years ago. It was designed so that the user could fight without mana entirely, and it even has a built-in translation feature. The hero repeats her words back with surprise about that suit. Han Sanga nods and explains that the South Korean military made a few prototypes for operational testing. She heard they gave up on the project because obtaining the materials was too difficult. Chansuk's eyes narrow at the answer. He asks why in the world something of that kind would end up in the hands of the Russian Alpha faction's boss. Han Sanga realizes hunting these people means she is actually going to have to kill people. She prepared herself for this over and over, but now standing here in the snow with 500 living human enemies charging toward her, she is not sure she can really do it. Chansuk does not miss the shift in her breathing. He asks if this is her first time fighting humans. If she does not think she can handle it, she should just go back. Han Sanga looks up at him and asks, quietly, whether he has ever fought them before either. Chansuk's silence lasts only a heartbeat. He tells her they are trying to kill them anyway, so there is no real difference from corrosion creatures. Our boy swings his katana in a single clean Iaido cut and cleaves the closest man from shoulder to hip, and blood erupts in a black arc across the white ground. Han Sanga freezes for a heartbeat with sword shaking in her grip. Our boy tells her to do it if she can as he moves past into the next wave, and to just not let the guilt consume her. It will fade away in a few days, a month at the most anyway. Snow whips across the Siberian battlefield in every direction, and our boy pushes forward through the chaos with a face carved from ice. He hears people screaming and shouting on every side of him. Weapons clash, guts spill out, and blood flows down. A murky, violent whirlwind of human emotions swirls around him, and inside all of it, Chansuk's expression does not change even once. He thinks to himself that it is truly disgusting, especially since a piece of shit like him is feeling right at home here. He walks through the pink haze of blood-fogged snow with the calm of a man returning to an old workshop. Two enemy blades cross into his path, and he cuts them both down without breaking stride. At the far end of the enemy line, a burly commander in a white fur coat grits his teeth. As expected, his side has the upper hand in skill, but they are still heavily outnumbered. They are being pushed back by pure Korean momentum. Chan-suk, watching from a distance, arrives at the same conclusion by a different road. He decides there is only one way to turn the tide, and that is to take down the enemy commander. Nikolai's massive armored figure catches sight of him first. The Russian's bald, scarred skull crinkles into a grin around his cybernetic eyes. He grunts that it is him, that rookie from Korea. Chan-suk drawls back that even Russian thugs know who he is now, and word sure travels fast. But before he can finish the thought, Nikolai cuts the sentence in half. A red energy blade lunges out and carves the snow apart between them. Nikolai spits a laugh through the storm. He snarls that this rookie isn't that special. He asks if Korea is really this lacking in talent. Our boy notes quietly that Nikolai is fast and strong too. His suit is also so tough that a normal strike will not even scratch it easily. He is a pretty tricky opponent, and it will not be easy to win. Chan-suk adds with the faintest curl at the mouth that this is the case if he had not gone to Tsushima Island first. He steps in low and drives his extendable spear up into Nikolai's exposed flank, and black paradox flame runs the length of the shaft. Nikolai staggers back a full pace with a curse, and blood paints the outside of his armor. He growls that Chan-suk is a son of a bitch, then plants his stance and roars that he will finish this rat off with this. A cannon blast of red energy rips out of his gauntlet and lights the entire snowfield in bloody orange. The young man slides sideways through the shockwave and lands on both feet with the storm scattered around his boots. Contrary to Nikolai's words about finishing him off, Chan-suk notes silently. The man is very obviously controlling his firepower. He asks himself why on earth Nikolai would do that. Is he worried about damaging the shield generator? That opening attack, the one that started the whole ambush, was that simply meant to stop the train and not destroy it? If Lee Seon had not been there to break the momentum, it would have literally shattered the cars to pieces. Does that mean these guys knew in advance exactly who was participating in this mission? The dots line up faster now. The Russian Alpha showing up in a Korean military suit. The Seal Master appearing with perfect timing to disable the one hunter who could stop the ambush cold. There is more than just one or two suspicious things stacked on top of each other here, and Chan-suk's jaw sets hard. Nikolai grunts and asks what this is, catching the shift in his posture. Chan-suk answers with black flame igniting along the length of his spear. He tells himself that by burning the suit's durability itself, he will end this as fast as possible. Nikolai swings his blade in a heavy overhand chop, and roars at the little rat, and steel meets paradox flame in a screaming clash. The hero twists under the strike and unleashes the blue trajectory 16-hit combo, and 16 dark blue after images of the spear fold around Nikolai from every angle at once. The final blow condenses into a lancing point of light and detonates against the chestplate with the force of a cannon shot. Nikolai's cyber eyes snap wide. In disbelief, he sees a crack in the suit. He needs to fall back and buy some time. Somewhere off to his side, one of his masked lieutenants shouts at him to wait. The lieutenant warns him he still needs to break Candy Lady's seal, and if he stops attacking now, the lieutenant can help him. Chan-suk murmurs as he closes the last of the distance that unfortunately he does not need any help. His spear crashes back through Nikolai's guard and lays open another gash across the plating. Behind him, distant hunters watch open-mouthed as the great cyber warlord actually gives ground. Our boy's eyes flick over his shoulder just once. He adds that she can do that all by herself. Purple lightning is already crackling somewhere beyond the train cars. Lee Seon steps out of the last of the seal's collapsing hexagons, greatsword resting easy on her shoulder, and her long dark hair whips in the wind. Bodies of the enemy vanguard lie scattered around the tracks in a wide crescent behind her. She strides into the hunter cluster with the ease of someone who was never sealed at all. She calls out warmly and tells Yu Chan-suk good work, and that went beyond her expectations. She digs into her pocket and drops something small and pink into his palm. Our boy blinks at the little wrapped candy in his palm and answers a slow outright. He thanks her and notes that it is candy again apparently. One of the older hunters, a bearded veteran with a top knot, asks Lee Seon whether that seal master guy was one of the descendants of Dangun. Lee Seon confirms it. She explains that the man ran away right as he broke the seal, so she lost him, but at least he confirmed the affiliation. The guy pinches the candy between two fingers and lifts it toward his mouth. He blinks as every hunter around him suddenly goes rigid. One of them gasps and asks what he is doing. He answers that he is going to eat it. They chorus back at him and ask why in the world he would eat that, and go pale. How could he possibly eat that? They ask if he is out of his mind. He blinks at the group with genuine confusion and asks what is up with everybody. One of them explains that he is probably the only person alive who would ever eat one, and asks what he thinks he is going to do with it. Play house with it? Everyone collects Lee Seon's candies. Korean soldiers are moving between the wrecked Predator suit and stretches of scattered enemy gear, and methodically hauling equipment off the field. Our boy notes the soldiers and wonders if they are trying to recover the equipment. His mind turns very cold at the sight. Nikolai acquired and operated special equipment handled by the Korean military. To casually ride around in something of that level, he definitely needed one of two things. He needed either a powerful faction that can completely disregard the Korean government, or the Korean military implicitly condoning Nikolai's actions. His gaze slides across the uniformed figures with their masks and helmets. Chansuk asks himself whether they can really trust the Korean military personnel riding on this train with them. Far away from the frozen tracks, tucked inside a traditional courtyard with sloped tile roofs and quiet stone paths, Lee Hyun's boots wobble under him. He drops one hand over his eyes and steadies himself against a wooden pillar. He mutters a curse and notes he used too much mana on that seal. A bearded man in similar robes crosses the courtyard toward him with an easy stride. He tells him gently that he has worked hard. Lee Hyun straightens up as best he can. He answers his captain, then lowers his head and apologizes for failing. It is a small failure, the captain tells him. It is inevitable to trip while walking and looking far ahead. He asks when the Korean people started cowering over a single failure. He tells Lee Hyun to forget about today and focus on recovering. Deep beneath the same building, an elevator descends in a slow mechanical hum. Inside the cabin stands a lone hooded figure, and the face is hidden entirely except for a single glowing red eye burning under the hood. The figure murmurs internally that to think Lee Hyun would be defeated after Kim Ji-hyun. It feels the same way his heart would if it were being torn apart. If only he had figured out the mana pattern of that black flame Yu Chun-suk possesses, he would have killed him right then and there. The doors slide open on a dim computer room. Rows of monitors flicker in the dark, and at the central console sits a heavy-set balding man in a stained white lab coat, with cigarette hanging from his mouth. The hooded figure calls out to Dr. Seogyunu. The doctor turns in his chair with a start, catches sight of the visitor, and immediately breaks into a nervous grin around the cigarette. He asks what brings him here. The hooded figure asks how the progress on that thing they talked about is going. The doctor answers that it will take time, but he believes it is possible. However, the fact that they need an ample amount of budget and time has not changed. The hooded figure tells him not to worry about that, and just to hurry up. The doctor promises he will try his best. By the way, he adds that it is such a shame and that if they had figured out the principles behind that shield generator, it would have been quite helpful. The hooded figure answers not to worry, and the single red eye burns brighter beneath the hood. The journey across Siberia is long.